Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel. So far this summer, it's been okay that we've only done weekly streams because I've been too busy to do it otherwise. This week, I've had a bit of a howler with that because literally everything has happened in the last 7 days. So when we last streamed, we were close to announcing Raheem Sterling. I think it was that night, or was it the next day? I can't remember. But we announced Sterling very soon after that stream. Then another couple of days later, we signed Kalidou Koulibaly from Napoli for 40 million euros, or converted around 33 million pounds. And then we played our first preseason friendly against Club America in Las Vegas, won that 2-1, thanks to a screamer by Mason Mount himself, an own goal by Reece James, and the typical Timo Werner goal. And now it's all sorts of been kicking off. We already knew about the Levi Colwill situation. We're like, after 3 centre-backs, what is going on? But now Armando Broja is basically already gone. Not fully, but kind of looks like he's leaving, and to West Ham, probably permanently. While we don't have a striker at the club, well, we have Havertz, who we will play there, but we don't have anybody else that we want to play there. So we will discuss all of those things. At least we'll try our best, because there's a lot to get through today, but we will try our best to discuss everything. Craigo is only joining us for about an hour. So let's get straight into it. Ian, thank you for joining us. It's actually been a hot minute. Last time we saw each other was when I was in London, and I don't think we've properly spoken since. So I'm glad to see you again, number one.
Thank you.
Secondly, we all know it's very hot in the UK at the moment. So how are you holding up?
Well, I have just tested negative for COVID, but I've had COVID for the last 5 days. So I'm kind of in a mix of emotions at the moment, because I want to go out, but at the same time, I do realize just how hot it is. So a bit of a double-edged sword at the moment.
I hear that one. Now, obviously, I haven't discussed all the transfer news and stuff with you, but before we will get into more detail about Koulibaly, but obviously Sterling we've covered in a lot of length over the last few weeks. But just quickly, are you happy with the signing of Sterling? Do you think he'll be a big player for us, especially for the transfer fee? Because, not every £50 million player is a banger. So, we hope that Raheem Sterling turns out better than that.
I am happy. I do have my reservations as well. I'm not quite sure where he plays. And who he then replaces, that is another matter altogether. But him as a player, as an individual, it's a great bit of business from Chelsea. I wasn't a fan of the Ake kind of thing. If we picked up Ake, it would have seemed like we were picking up their dead wood. But Sterling's been spoken about with Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Man City, obviously, now us. He's been spoken about with a lot of big clubs. So he's going to offer something to us 100%. I just hope it's consistently, unlike other people who we've spent similar sort of fees on.
100%, to be fair. And the Nathan Ake thing, we'll get into that in a little bit as well. Obviously, we were discussing it in the last few streams. We were like, well, especially from my end, I'm like, can we not do that, please? But at the same time, I'm like, I understand that he fits the left centre-back spot. I get that.
Yeah.
But it's just too much money for someone that's barely played football for the last 2 years. And we had a buyback option for 2 years ago and decided he's not better than Zuma and whoever else we had back then. And arguably, we now have a better defense than then. And now we think it's good enough. I don't understand. There was a lot wrong with that, really. But now we move on. Did you, because it was at a crazy hour of, well, I was going to say day, but night, did you catch much of the preseason game, Ian?
Yeah, I watched. I stayed up. I stayed up, watched the whole game. Was a bit bored at times, I must be honest. Like any preseason game, I was really up for it going into it. Con, who can't join us unfortunately, but he was buzzing for it, as I think a lot of us were. But it was slow. It was a bit lethargic at times. I also, correct me if I'm wrong, they're halfway through their season, aren't they, as well, Club America?
See, you would think I'd know that, but I don't. But
they are.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, yeah, they are.
Yeah, I think there are a few games in. I think not quite half.
They run off the same season as the MLS, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So the fact that they're pretty much.
They have any sort of summer break then, or none?
They do the winter break, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But do they get a month off in summer or something? Like Germany do a winter break type thing?
I think they do I think the season starts around March and ends around October.
Yeah, and it goes all the way through. There's no 3 weeks off in the middle.
But I think this is it. I think this is you can play as much as you want to play or as little as you want to play. Because in the MLS, this is All-Star Week, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah. Makes sense. So they'll have a little bit of time off. Otherwise, how would that happen?
Yeah.
Friendlies and stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, it was the first friendly, and I did kind of jump the gun a little bit on a few reactions that I tweeted as the game was going on. I get that. But I was like, yeah. But it's just the same thing. We do the same thing. I'm like, come on. I know it's only been 2 weeks of preseason, but like we do the exact same thing as we did last year. So what have we done for the 2 weeks? Like, I know fitness is important. I get that. But have we not trained anything? Because we did the exact same thing we did last season. So what did we train then? I don't know.
I have to say, I do think that, although I do agree, it's obviously pre-season and doing the fitness stuff and all that. I think part of the reason I was really excited for this game is to see how we are going to play moving forward. And I think all it really did was just cement the fact that we are going to play a 3 at the back moving forward. Because if he wanted to try anything at any point, we've only got 4 pre-season games. He might as well have done it at the earliest opportunity. So I think we were all excited to learn, but because we didn't learn anything, maybe we kind of looked down on it a little bit more than we should do.
Yeah, potentially. It's not, and like you say, I mean, the back 3 is one part that's probably not particularly shocking, especially from the transfer targets we've had. It's not exactly surprising. But even within the same system, you can play different ways. Like, not every team that plays 4-3-3 plays the same way, right? But we haven't changed at all how we play, at least in that first game. Mind you, it could all change by the time we played Charlotte on Wednesday. But for now, it hasn't. But let me move on to Pice. Unlike Con, who bailed out on us because he said it's too hot to stream, Pice is here. Big up yourself, Pice. Appreciate you for coming on as always, mate. Obviously, we will talk about the game as well. But I will, just to lead it into a slightly different topic already in the kind of intro. Kalidou Koulibaly, we didn't see that coming last time we streamed, that was going to be done about 2 days after that.
Glad to be back on. Been a while. When was your last stream? 2 weeks? 1 week? Something like that?
My last stream was a week ago, but then you weren't available, so yours was 2 weeks
ago. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, been a while. So, yeah, I mean, Koulibaly, for me, I said it at the time, I think it's a great signing. I think 1 year left on his contract is really an opportunity I don't think the club could have passed upon by. I mean, we've wanted him for years. Even he said, I think we first came after him in 2016. That was only 2 years after he joined Napoli. So, yeah, I think it's a really good signing. And Tuchel said, like, just on formations, he said, like, buying Koulibaly allows us to go to a 4 if we want to. So, even though we're not seeing, I don't really think we'll see much of the 4 in pre-season, but maybe, like, as we get into the Premier League season, depending on different opponents, you might change it in game or something. I know we did that a few times last year. And I think, yeah, with the whole centre-back situation, just, I don't know, we're buying, well, we want to buy 3 centre-backs, but, you know, Silva is 38 now. I still want him to start every game, but maybe it's just in a view to getting Silva more rest. I'm not sure.
That is a problem because you make a fair point. Just signing Koulibaly most certainly makes us more flexible to go to a back 4. The problem is signing 2 more centre-backs doesn't because then you only play 2 and you have 6 then. Well, if Colwill doesn't leave 7. So that's way too many for playing a back 4 and only playing 2 centre-backs regularly. I mean, even though, of course, Ampadu, if we count him as one of the centre-back options, he, of course, can also play midfield if necessary. But that also then depends on the system. Is he a useful midfielder? Yeah, as a single 6 or as a proper DM, maybe he can be deployed. But in a double pivot, like we so at the moment use it, I'm not sure if that's where Ampadu would thrive the most. So it's difficult. It's difficult. But Clutch, let me get to you so we can actually open it up to the proper topics. Number one, thank you for being back on. We know you're more used to the heat. At least you have AC, so great for you. But how did you feel after the game? Was it like myself and Ian a little bit, where it's like, well, kind of what we already saw, so not that exciting? Or did certain things put a smile on your face anyway?
From what I did see, because I got snippets because of my stream was really bad. But like you said, we played the same way, so
you did
not loving that. I seen the goals. The goals were nice, especially Mason's. Mason's was a really good goal. I like him coming back from that deeper position, obviously. I mean, that's where I kind of want him to play. Maybe not in the midfield pivot, but I do want him to play in midfield, so that's why he's another reason why I want to go to that midfield. But, you know, it's one of those things where, like, I expect us to do the back 3, and obviously I'm one of the people who basically never want to ever see the back 3 again because I don't think it's going to suit, and I don't think we're going to do anything with it. Especially in a possession-based team. But it is what it is, and I think the preseason game, from what I saw, the rust is being shaken off, so I think as we go on, we'll see stuff progress a little bit more, and I am looking forward to seeing Sterling because the more I think about Sterling, He's probably becoming my second favorite player that we have. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm just kind of excited to see where it goes from here.
There you go. I'm excited to see Sterling as well. That was the disappointing part. I mean, it made sense, obviously, with the big time difference over to LA and then Vegas, and Sterling only arriving, 2.5 days, if you will, before our first game. It made sense that he wouldn't be involved, really, but it was still disappointing because, that's kind of all we've been asking for all summer. Make sure we have our signings ready for preseason, and not a single one played in the first preseason game. So that's not ideal. But we do have a lot to discuss, and I kind of almost want to work my way backwards because, on the one hand, the most pressing topic today is the whole academy situation. At the same time, in the grand scheme of things, especially with how the internet works, what people care about more, the academy is probably furthest down the list compared to, we've signed Koulibaly, we've played against, played a game. So let's talk about this academy situation. And like James Doran said, I mean, it's more than 100 now, thankfully. But, ladies and gentlemen, get subscribed and smash the like button for me. That'd be very much appreciated. And also check out the links to all my lovely guests down in the description. But yeah, let's talk about this academy situation. Now, not only is Armando Broja on the way to West Ham, seemingly not only is he on the way reportedly, he's also left preseason camp with the team to go back to England. Well, partly because of a potential injury that he picked up in training, but, that's kind of different reports. Some say, it's only because of the injury. And then the more realistic people are saying, he's going to West Ham. But also, Billy Gilmour was sent away, shall we say, from preseason camp with the first team and has joined the under-23s camp, who are also in the USA for some reason, all of a sudden. And also the same happened to somebody else. Harvey Bale. Gilmour and Harvey Bale have both been sent to the under-23s, potentially or probably with the idea of them going on loan for the upcoming season. So that if they're not supposed to be in the squad anyway, what difference does it make really if they stay with the first team camp? I guess. Fair enough. But the Broja one is, and I'm annoyed at Broja. I'm annoyed at the situation in general because obviously Lukaku left, thankfully, but Lukaku left. So we have Timo Werner, who none of us want to see play, but he plays anyway. Kai Havertz, who starts up top but can't score anything, even though he's good for most other things. The scoring part is kind of his biggest issue, which if you're the number 9, is kind of a concern. Do you know what I mean? And then, we signed Sterling, who maybe could play as a false line, but do we really want that, especially on a regular basis? Absolutely not. So now what? Then we would have Broja, who would actually fit that situation of being a backup striker very well. Because considering he's 20, he would get more time than most 20-year-olds would once they're backups, right? Because they can't play every game. Sometimes you might want a slightly different type of player that's more of a proper striker than Kai is. So we would have the potential for him to change. So I would firmly, not always as starts, but I would firmly believe that Broja, if he stayed around this season, would probably get 30, 35 games. Again, not all from the start, but all together, all competitions. But now he's leaving, probably. But now the thing is, on the one hand, I'm annoyed at Broja because I'm like, don't you see that no one gets this path up top? Like, no one gets this lucky. You are lucky you get this chance now, and you're just deciding to not use it. But at the same time, maybe that chance only exists in our heads because we don't see Werner playing there, and we don't see Sterling playing there. But if Tuchel does, and Tuchel told him, well, you're behind Kai, you're behind Timo, and you're behind Sterling. Obviously, we don't know that, but if he was told that, then you'd understand a bit more again, obviously. But to me, this is basically identical to the 2013 situation with Lukaku, except that Lukaku had much better loan spells than Broja did last season. But Lukaku was a bit longer in pre-season. Obviously, they missed that crucial pen against Bayern Munich in the Super Cup, and then just wanted to leave. Sure, he went on loan initially, but still wanted to leave again. 3 days before the transfer window shut. At least Broja didn't put us in that situation. When all he had to fight against was Torres and Dembaba. And I, to this day, firmly believe that if Lukaku just stayed, number one, do we probably win the league that season? Because by October, he would probably have been our starting striker because neither Bar or Torres were anywhere near good enough. Instead, we had to sign 30-whatever-year-old Samuel Eto'o, who was still somehow the best striker we had that season, which is mental. And now we're in a similar situation where, again, I'm not saying Broja would win the spot from Havertz and be the starter all season, but you would get games. I don't understand why he's leaving. Or is Tuchel telling him that he's behind Werner and Sterling and Havertz, obviously. I just don't get it. I mean, Pies, help me out with this one, because you're the one that's I'm not quite as sure about Ian in terms of how defensive of Tuchel compared to the academy product he is. But you're more defensive of Tuchel than I sometimes am. So what's your view of this? Because then I see people like RD saying in the chat, everyone in the academy is a bit overhyped and, overrated anyway. And I'm like, you could be right on that in terms of Broja. You could be right in that in terms of Harvey Vale. You could be right. But if we never put Mount and Reece James and even Tammy in the team 3 years ago, we could have said the exact same thing about them as well. And we would have never known whether we were right or wrong. So if we say 3 years ago, we agreed to sell Mount like we do now with Broja, we would have all sat here and said, well, he hasn't played Premier League football yet. How good do we know he is? He can't demand first team football. So he can't, then he needs to go. But because we didn't play him, we would have thought that. Now, 3 years later, imagine we sold Mount. We would have been absolutely screwed. So when you think about it that way, I'm like, can we really, do you know what I mean, Pies? I mean, but at the same time, I'm also really triggered at Broja because I'm like, why are you throwing this away? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know. Everyone's just losing their absolute shit over everything lately with the whole academy. Broja, Colwill, people are just going absolutely mental. I just don't think personally people are truly thinking. And I kind of get where you're coming from, Laurenz. It's we don't actually really know what's happened. If Tuchel's saying to him, you're behind Werner, Havertz, and Sterling, fair enough. I wouldn't blame him for leaving, but
then I would blame Tuchel for thinking that.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Werner shouldn't be ahead of anyone.
Yeah, then I'd be more defensive of Broja, but then the reports we've had is that he just wants regular game time. He wants to be, he wants to be the starter at West Ham. Whether or not he's going to start, I don't know, but he wants to leave. He wants to get regular minutes, and he wants to leave. So he's pushing to leave, according to the Athletic. So I don't know. It's very, very hard to judge a situation without knowing the full context. I just think people are losing, losing their, shit a little bit too much and just coming for Tuchel without actually not even realising the full situation. I mean, none of us really know the full situation, do we? With Colwill, with Broja, we're just getting fed things and it's up to you whether you want to believe it or not. And I just think some people are thinking with context and some people are just losing their shit a little bit. It comes down to that, I think.
I think what it's mostly about is that we're in a situation where we need a lot of players, right? Because obviously 2 have left us for free in the summer. Lukaku then left, so we need players. And we're already not anywhere near the level of Man City and Liverpool, who we essentially want to catch up with anyway. So we have a lot to do, right? And then in certain positions where we have good youth players, if we don't just use those, we could just spend money elsewhere and become a better team. That whole Broja situation. Surely, if Broja leaves, we need to sign someone that can play striker. Because surely we can't go into the season with Havertz and Werner as only 2 realistic striker options. And again, Werner isn't even a realistic striker option as a single 9, right? So essentially 1. You can't go into a season like that. And 18-year-old Sun Suk Bell, in the first 2 FA Cup rounds of the year, we can't go into the season like that. It's crazy, right? So, and that makes me think even more, okay, so Broja wants to leave. Let's say Broja is done, okay? Let's forget Broja out of Hayes. Surely then you're like, okay, but we have Levi Colwill. Who's actually a really good player, really talented, had a great loan in the Championship. Surely then save ourselves the money for a 3rd centre-back so we have a bit more money available to buy another forward, right? Rather than letting all of the youngsters go that want to go. Because it's easy to say, oh, Ampadu's staying and Gallagher's staying. Yeah, but they really want to stay. Lamptey didn't want to stay. Livramento didn't want to stay. And all we've done last season is complain that Livramento and Lamptey weren't here anymore. Do we want to do that again? Just complain for another season that we don't have youth players because we'll have to see Malang Sarr once someone gets injured and then we'll all be annoyed again? I don't want to see that. Now, what is absolutely fair is that, again, it's a little bit like with Broja. We don't fully know what Colwill's position is. What is he demanding? Is he demanding just a chance and get some games throughout the season? And is he okay with that? And then if he performs well enough, actually be judged fairly as are the senior players. And if he plays better than the senior players, play over the senior players? Or will it be like when Pulisic plays well, he gets dropped for Werner anyway? Which is not the fairest comparison. Maybe it's a fair comparison to Hudson-Odoi 3 years ago. When it's like he plays well in the Europa League on Asari, but then doesn't play in the Premier League. And everyone complained about it. If that's the situation, and Kohler is not happy with that. I understand it. But at the same time, you're 19. You've had one loan. You've not played Premier League football yet. You can't demand anything. But at the same time, you don't need to demand anything. If Tuchel just gives him a fair chance, and if he plays as well as I think he can, he will easily be the backup to the left-side centre-back anyway. And then he'll, like I said for Broja, get his 20 to 30 games a season. Again, not all from the start, but all together. When we consider that we're probably going to play between 55 and 65 games, right? So, to me, it just doesn't make sense. I just don't understand why we're in a position where over the last 3 years, all of the super talented youngsters are leaving, because we can sit here and talk about the only reason Ampadu hasn't left is because, well, he was alone at Leipzig and was never used. Then he was alone at Sheffield, they got relegated. Then he went to loan to Venezia and they got relegated. Even though he played well at Venezia, still, he hasn't exactly been particularly successful. So we're not exactly having suitors for him left, right, and centre. Like, it's the same with Batshuayi. The reason Batshuayi is still here, like, okay, I haven't mentioned him as a 9 option yet, because the reason is that no one wants Batshuayi. That's the problem. He's probably on too high wages. We know all he wants to do is really shoot, but can't really do much else. He's decent at shooting, but everything else he's not particularly decent. Although I say that, was offside, but missed an absolute sitter the other day against Club America. So we let so many top youngsters go over the last 2 years. And now we're in a position where the 2 or 3 best youngsters that aren't already 22, 23, like Gallagher and Ampadu, and, well, Ampadu's 21, but also, and Chalobah, they're all leaving again. Like, we can't let this happen.
I think our hands are tied.
At some point, once they all leave, you know what my big concern is, and Price, I'll let you speak on this in a second. My big concern is that once they see everyone leave, because everyone feels like they don't get the fair chance to really find themselves a spot in the team, we will get loads of Lampteys and Livramentos where we can't even sell them for money, because the problem is they won't even extend their contracts once they get to being 17. And then the academy loses all its purpose, because then we're not putting players into the first team and we're not even making much money from them if they all leave with 1 year left on the contract or for free at 17, 18, like Lamptey and Livramento. If that keeps happening, and in my opinion, it will keep happening if they don't see a path to the first team, because essentially that's what they're all here for. And we also got to consider we're Chelsea, we're paying their entire footballing education for these guys to join us at 8 years old, and we're losing them for nothing. Some of them, like we lost Livramento for nothing, we lost Lamptey for 5 million, like for nothing essentially. And we've educated that, like, and now we're feeding the whole Premier League, the whole English Football League. Basically, every team in the whole English Football League has some form of ex-Chelsea Academy player in them, and we get no benefits from that. And it's ridiculous. Like, at that point, we've spent so much money into this academy, not just back in the day when we built it, but on a consistent basis, the amount of coaches that are paid, the amount of stuff that's going on. It's such a huge academy. It's such a waste of money if we don't use them and don't sell them for use for money. That's the positive with Broja. At least Broja, for someone that's scored 6 Premier League goals and played 1 season in the Premier League, if we can actually sell it for 30 million, as much as it annoys me because we currently need a striker, in general, I'm like, yeah, do that. You know what I mean? Especially someone that doesn't want to be it. Fuck off then. But in general, we can't just keep letting this happen, because no one will want to stay there and then we can't even make money on them. Do you see that concern at all, Pice? Because why would any of the other youngsters that we offer a contract at 17, 18, then why would any of them extend? If they all want to leave anyway, if you extend, you just make the leaving process more difficult for yourself.
As you've said, though, like the likes of Livramento, Gerhi, Lamptey, the guys like Colwill and Broja are seeing that they've left and that they're guaranteed Premier League starters now and progress their careers. Like, in some senses, our hands are tied. Like, what can we do? Tuchel could say, look to Colwill. Yeah, but Tuchel might want to fucking keep Colwill. No one knows. If he doesn't, then fair enough. But, you know, like,
he probably wants to keep him, but does he want to keep him and give enough minutes? Obviously, this is again an assumption.
But does Colwill want that, though, bro? Does Colwill want to play Carabao Cup and FA Cup when he could be a Premier League starter?
I think he deserves to play more than just that.
What, over Kimpembe or someone who we're going to sign? Someone who's a PSG captain and things like that? No chance.
But he also can't play 38 Premier League games and
Look,
hopefully
he can't.
13 Champions League games. They can't.
So that's where Colwill should see the pathway and see that, look, Kimpembe's not going to play every game at left centre back. You're going to get your chances, so just stay. But they don't want to stay. They want to go because they've seen all these other players leave, and that's where our hands are tied.
Look at last season
because they're guaranteed Prem starters, and they won't be at Chelsea,
bro. Other than Chalobah, did anyone get a chance? Harvey Vale got 2 games, played well in both, never saw the light of day after. Does that feel like that youth players get a chance to other youth players?
Well, we've got to talk about who is leaving or who potentially leaving. I think Colwill. You know what? Fair enough. If I refuse to believe this, but if Tuchel seriously sees Sarr ahead of Colwill, he's got a genuine issue. I think Sarr would quite happily go on loan for Colwill to make way. But again, like I don't know the full. I don't know what Tuchel's telling these guys. So it's so hard to just blame someone when you're not actually there and you're not talking to the family. I keep saying these guys, these young guys.
And I haven't even assumed that he picks Sarr over Colwill. I haven't even gone that far. But still,
that's what I mean. A lot of publications and Twitter accounts are doing this right now. They're saying, look. Tuchel's not showing Colwill the pathway, so he's gone. Well, how do you know that? You're not there. You know, if Ethan Ampadu sees a pathway into the first team after 3 loans, surely Colwill should. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
But does Ampadu only see it because he doesn't have much of another choice anyway, and Colwill does?
No, Ampadu could go on loan or leave permanently if he wanted to. But
would he get a club the same level as Colwill would, and would he get as many minutes as Colwill?
Well,
would?
I mean,
like
Colwill
his last 2 loan moves haven't exactly gone 3 loan moves haven't exactly gone particularly well for Ampadu.
Yeah, we must take responsibility for that as well, because at the end of the day, I'm sure he had more offers than somewhere like Venezia, but looks to have done him good.
Because otherwise, why would we agree to send him to a probable Serie A relegation side?
Well, I'm not saying Serie A, but he might have had like other European offers, which could have been better clubs than that, like Sheffield United. I mean, I thought that was actually going to be a really good loan for him, but it didn't work out. So, and Leipzig as well. I thought that'd be perfect.
If he played at Leipzig, would have been wonderful, but then he didn't.
I mean, at the end of the day, look, I'd love to keep Colwill and Broja, but if they want guaranteed Premier League starts, and everyone's saying they don't, well, they've seen other players leave. They clearly do want to play week in, week out. They want to progress their careers. I keep saying leaving Chelsea is not necessarily a step back for these younger players. It can be the making of their careers. You've seen Gertie get in the England team for playing for Crystal Palace. So I just think, I don't know, my head's spinning. There's so many like conflicting thoughts. One thing I want to blame Tuchel. One thing I want to blame Broja. Next thing I want to blame Colwill. You know, I don't know. Like the other day when pre-season played, I do kind of blame Tuchel for not playing like Harvey Vale over Kennedy and Gilmore over Barkley.
Barkley,
at the end of the day, though, I see an alternative side to that is that Tuchel's got to kind of show these deadwood off to potential clubs to try and get potential buyers as well. Like CFC Daily.
See that.
Like, but I don't get this right. But it's better than like I saw CFC Daily say earlier. Do what Tottenham did and leave Barkley and that at home. Well, you're just gonna hoard them forever then if you don't play them. You know what I mean? Like, if Barkley scores a hat trick
to other clubs,
really, like Ross Barkley, like these are still not international players, but he's a well-renowned player.
I'm not disagreeing with it, but
it's so hard.
Obviously, now it's still the 18th of July. But if we say in 2 weeks' time there's still no offers for Barkley and Kennedy, you could certainly say, well, that plan hasn't worked out, has it? You might as well have played Vale and
I agree with that. But then if the fans just want to see like the Vale and Gilmores and Tuchel doesn't see them in his plans anyway, well, then what was the point of playing them in the first place?
Yeah,
it's so fucked. There's so many different angles you can look at this. It's ridiculous.
But one last thing I will say, though. Now, Broja might be... even for Broja, I don't understand it, because Broja has a contract until 2026. Colwill has a contract until 2025. So if Tuchel had a plan for them and actually really wanted to keep them, why would we ever agree to sell them anyway? Like, they can want to leave all they want, but we can, like, children, especially someone as, like, he's not a child, but 19-year-olds, how many stupid things have we all done at 19? Do you know what I mean? Like, 19-year-olds do stupid things, and they think stupid things. That's just what 19-year-olds do. That's literally what they're supposed to do, I feel like. That's why they're on this planet, to be stupid at 19. That's what you're there for. So like a parent to a kid is when you do something stupid, they tell you, maybe you shouldn't do that because it's very stupid. Like that, we should go to Kobe. Actually, what you're thinking of here is very stupid. So you have a contract with us. We funded your entire footballing education. How about you show a little bit of loyalty? You give it a season, see how many games you actually get. And if you're all so unhappy still in a year's time, you can still go. That would be what I would do to Kobe. Be like, all right, calm your horses.
like,
you're 19 years old. You've not played Premier League. You're not going anywhere. That's what I would tell him. And if he's not happy with that, quite frankly, he can suck it up. That's my opinion. But if Tuchel isn't then eventually going to use him, then you might as well sell him. Because if you're not going to use him, you're just devaluing him over a season of not playing. Then you might as well sell him. And that's the part where I'm like, why? Like, all these guys come from the same realm. Why would Callum Hudson-Odoi be so willing to fight? I know he wanted to leave on loan to Dortmund, but he had that one time when he asked for a transfer request. And look at the level of hype Callum Hudson-Odoi had then when he handed in a transfer request in January of 2019, compared to Broja now. Compare that. And Callum Hudson-Odoi asked to leave once, and I'm still a bit annoyed for Hudson-Odoi for that time. He's not even, like, he's barely played over the last 3 years. Sure, part of that was the injury. And he's had the balls to stick around, but these little wusses don't. Like, I just feel like it's easy. Like, why would they? Why would you be here at 19? If you'd never wanted to make it at Chelsea, you would have left at 16, 17, not now. Do you know what I mean? Ian, what's your thoughts on the whole academy drama?
What sort of money is Broja on?
Don't know. Probably not a lot.
That's a big thing. The way I look at it, I mean, Hudson-Odoi, when he didn't go to Bayern and whatever, long story short, it's because he was on 140 grand a week or 130 grand a week, whatever he's on. He's still on the same deal. Broja is not on that money. And I think...
Sorry to interrupt. Broja only signed that contract a year ago. So, like...
Yeah.
You can't a year later after signing your new contract say, actually, I want way more money. Well, then maybe you shouldn't have signed that new contract a year ago, mate.
Apparently, just seeing what I've seen there from Clutch, apparently he's on 150k potentially with bonuses.
No, that's got to be Callum. That's definitely not Broja. Broja is not.
Oh yeah, not K. Yeah. Sorry, that's Hudson-Odoi, not Broja. Yeah. No, if Broja was on that, Jesus Christ. But
Broja's probably on like 60 or something, I would assume, but I don't know.
Yeah. So the big thing he's been banging on about for the whole time was he wanted security, he wanted stability. That was essentially the whole point of his argument, is that he wants his long-term future to be safe. Well, if he signed 120, 130 grand a week, contract with Chelsea, 5-year deal or whatever, similar to what Hudson-Odoi did a couple of years ago, then fine. Yeah, he'd be happy sitting there doing nothing, whatever. I mean, you look at Ampadu for Wales, no disrespect to Wales. They've got a starting 11 pretty much and a couple of squad players. Other than that, you're pretty much going to get in every time. So he doesn't need to necessarily worry about having to play week in, week out, because he knows that when time comes, wants to play for Wales.
Broja doesn't have that problem for Albania either, to be fair.
Exactly. Of course he don't. So what's the difference between the two?
Nothing. One thinks he's better than he is and the other one doesn't.
Yeah. Essentially,
I don't necessarily think it's that. I think it's mentality. I think, especially younger guys,
mentality though, because Broja did, no disrespect, like he kind of burst onto the scene when he was at Southampton. At Vitesse, when I used to watch him, he can be slow, he can be lethargic, he can be a bit lazy at times. For Albania,
not when near as good as Solanke was at Vitesse.
Oh no! So, well, I mean, there's been a few players down the years that have been. I mean, the best player I ever saw at Vitesse was really Lewis Baker. I mean, he was brilliant.
Look how that's gone. He's at Stoke.
Where is he? So, generally, you go over to Arnhem, they absolutely idolise this geezer. Like, I can't believe he hasn't gone back there. They love this guy. But either way, Broja is
wants too much money all the same.
Exactly. Yeah, probably. Broja is a fantastic player. He's got all the capabilities to go and be a top-class number 9. We haven't got a number 9. So why are we letting him go? That's the way I look at it. I'm in the same kind of camp as you. But realistically, if he wants too much too soon, let it happen. I don't want to be that guy, but let it happen. You've got to learn from your mistakes, and maybe Colwill goes, oh yeah, I'm going to try and push for a move away. He realizes it's not going to happen. He learns from his mistakes, and maybe we get a fantastic player next year, or maybe he goes out on loan as another really successful loan at a higher standard or something like that. Same thing with Broja. I hope that maybe he realizes from his mistakes, but he might not. That's not Chelsea's responsibility. You can, what's the phrase? I think you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink or something like that. You can show people what to do. You can show the idea, and then that's it. If they can't follow it from there, it's down to them. That's individual kind of perspectives and personalities and whatever. Now, with the academy, again, going on from what we said previously, I personally think, and I know, Loz, you won't like this, I personally think that Loftus-Cheek should have been sold after the Crystal Palace loan in 2018, was that? Yeah, just before the World Cup.
Fair, but yeah.
I think he should have been sold after that. I remember there was fees, 35, 40 million pound just after that loan, and I think he should have gone. And the reason for it is because he had an opportunity at Chelsea. He had a couple of opportunities at Chelsea. Didn't really impress. He was good at times, but not like a world beater. If a 40 million pound bid came in, you have to let him go for the reason because you're going to make 5 or 6 more versions of Loftus-Cheek as long as you keep the academy going and going and going and going. The point of the academy isn't to make the entire Chelsea first team, all youngsters and all this sort of stuff. It's never going to happen. It's not realistic. So it's there to make money. Now, ideally, ideal world, Broja would be starting number 9 for us, banging in 100 goals a season. We'd piss the league, blah, 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 blah. Reality of the situation is that isn't going to happen. That's not going to be the case. He's a good player, but at 19, he didn't really do 19 or 20. How old is he? 20?
20, yeah.
20. At 20 at Southampton, he didn't do that much brilliantly. He scored a couple of good goals,
but he still scored more Premier League goals than Timo Werner did.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not denying that. Not denying
that's
that.
That's half the problem, though. That like if we had a squad of 2010, no problem. But our squad consists of Timo Werner. That's why I'm in a situation where I'm like it's not like we have any good players here, so you might as well choose the good players in the academy.
The problem with it is, our squad is so packed. It's too packed, and we've known this for a long time. You're not going to be able to entice these players in to say, we're going to give you the opportunities here and there. We're going to give you the opportunities because they know the players are smart. I mean, people are smart this day and age. They realise that Ross Barkley, who's on 130, 140 grand a week, I don't know what he's on, but let's just say he's on now.
It's still too much.
I don't know what he's on, but let's say he's on 120 grand a week. Why would they play Broja coming off the bench when they don't necessarily need to because he's £60,000 a week and he's going to be okay, but they're already going to pay Ross Barkley double that wage. So you might as well play him to see what sort of thing comes in. There's a little bits of pressure that come from above, and it's not down to Tuchel at all. There will be small little bits of pressure going, well, such and such is being paid this amount of money. Why isn't he being used? Oh, well, we don't really fit in with, how we're trying to play. He doesn't really fit our system. Yeah, but we're paying him a lot of money and we can't shift him. So you've got to get him out there in that shop window, offload him, use him whatever capacity. There's multiple youngsters, especially out of the academy, that realise that is a massive problem for them because they know the pressures are going to come from above. They know the pressures are going to continue to come as well. And eventually their chance to play football at the highest level is starting to kind of dwindle away, which is horrible. But you then look at these players like Colwill, who wants to move away elsewhere. You look at Broja, who wants to move elsewhere for that stability, as Broja was banging on about. It makes a lot of sense. But if there's a player you really, really back and really, really support, now Chelsea thought it was Loftus-Cheek, they thought it was Mason Mount, they thought it was Solanke and Tammy Abraham, a couple of people down the years. They thought there's been like one or two. This is the guy, McEachran, another one. This is going to be the guy, who really makes it out there. If you believe it, back it. If you believe Broja is going to be that person, then fucking back it. But if you don't believe he's the person, then do business. £35 million with a buyback clause. Okay, brilliant. If that buyback clause gets me, for 60 or 70 million pound, £60 million, if I get the best striker in the league because I've got a buyback clause, good business. Other than that,
But that's,
keep the academy running
exactly
for a
what
few
we did
years.
with Nathan Ake, then decided against using the buyback clause, and 2 years later we were interested in him again.
Yeah.
So
Centre half,
that's
though,
why.
isn't he?
And also, like, again, I don't disagree with this general point of it, but in his actual position, we don't have the players. Like you say, the squad as a whole is stacked. I agree with that, and that's why I rated so much that Gallagher is willing to fight for it, because Gallagher has crazy opposition to fight for a spot in that team, especially if we don't change formation, because then he's trying to fight for a spot that's not even his best position, and he's still willing to fight for it.
He also does have an opportunity, though, Gallagher, that Broja does and doesn't have. It's a bit of an
because he worked for that opportunity while on loan.
So the opportunity for Gallagher is to replace Kante and Jorginho, who both have got 1 year left on their contract. Mm-hmm. You know that both
of them can just replace Werner, bro, because there's no one there already.
I agree, but he also has to potentially fight off Raheem Sterling, who I think is going to play down the middle. I do think Kai Havertz is going to play down the middle a lot as well, and I don't necessarily think that Werner will, but that's another thing for another time. I think Chelsea are always going to be aware that they might need that big name centre forward, and I think that Broja is aware of that as well. So I think that although Gallagher's looking at it going, I've got an opportunity to replace either one of these two here, and they still might buy another centre midfielder, and it'll be absolutely fine because I'll still have kept my place and I've replaced Kante or whatever, I don't know. But with Broja, if Broja goes in and he's starting week in, week out, number 9 for Chelsea, even on 60 grand a week or whatever he's on, he could be doing everything
according to
right.
He's on 8.5k a week, but if that's true, then that's his own fault again.
But Chelsea could still then afford to go, do you know what? He's from our academy. We are going to go and spend 80 million on such and such centre forward, 100 million on such and such centre forward. Because it's one position. It's not you're playing a duo up top or a duo in midfield. He's fighting for one position. It's the same thing as a goalkeeper. You need that goalkeeper. You need the person you can rely on week in, week out. And if they look at an opportunity to potentially improve in that area, they're just going to do it. They're just going to back it. Because at the end of the day, let's be real here. There's people making decisions about our football club that we will never be able to get through to. We'll never be able to get through to them at all. If they believe that's the right way to run our football club, they're going to do it, regardless. What the player does and how he looks after his own future and his own security, that's down to him. So I can understand why Broja is wanting to leave. Colwill, not necessarily as much. I don't think that he's ready for that next big step. Maybe he wants to take a different step that we don't yet know about, but either way.
Broja, he was ready, and he was in an identical situation to Colwill.
Yeah. It's a difficult one.
That's probably half the problem for Colwill, that he saw Guehi do it a year ago.
Yes. And I understand why he wants to do it, and I can understand why many players would want to leave Chelsea. But again, Chelsea have to show to individual players, maybe a select few. It's obviously been Mount, it's been Hudson-Odoi, it's been Tammy Abraham, it's been a couple of different players. They want to show individuals, we really back you. We think you are going to become the next big thing. Then show it, and show it early, and no one will care. If it's a risk that everyone takes and it doesn't work out, we move on. If it's a risk you don't take and then you end up with like a Lukaku situation where you kind of half-arsed it, that's where we've got problems. But as of right now, if they don't believe that Broja is the saviour of Chelsea Football Club, don't pay him the earth. Don't promise him something that we can't afford to really give him, because we've got to look after ourselves first rather than a player.
But he is still under contract. So you could kind of tell him, well, you don't want to be here, then you go on loan. Because you're under contract, we ain't telling you. End of discussion. And then he can go on loan. And if he has won the loan, where he scores 25 goals on loan next season, or 25 is maybe overdoing it. Let's say 18 goals on loan next season. Then you're like, well, then maybe you don't. Because after the Lukaku thing, I'm less sure than you are, Ian, that Chelsea will always want a big name centre forward. I think the whole Lukaku mess might have actually changed that whole striker problem at Chelsea. That's my hope anyway.
I wasn't on about Lukaku this year. I was on about Lukaku 2013 when...
No. I know, but what I'm saying is maybe how badly last year's move for Lukaku went. Maybe that makes us stay away from the big name strikers thing that you were talking about. One other thing, and I have brought it up like a few minutes ago, just come about Adash here, that everything we've been told by the media is that Thomas Tuchel, both in signings, incomings and outgoings, has the final say, right? they all have contracts. So if he did have the want for them to be in the squad, why would he ever sanction them going? So the fact that, and because every report is telling us we need to be so seriously concerned about Colwill and Broja going, that tells me that there is a serious concern that Tuchel will sanction those outgoings. And why would he ever consider that if he wanted them? And that's why I think the criticism or the questioning of Tuchel by a lot of people comes in, because they might want to leave, but if we don't let them leave, they can't leave anyway. But
you can't do that though.
Of course you can. We did it with
you
Diego Costa.
can't-
Diego Costa
you
wanted
can't
to leave
force
3
the
years in a
player
row,
to
and
stay.
we told
That's
him to
just
fuck off
toxic.
every time, bro.
That's
Diego
just
Costa wanted to
toxic.
leave 3 years in a row.
You
We
can't
told him to fuck off every time.
you can't force Colwill and Broja to stay if they want to leave.
Of course you can.
No,
We force
I don't
every
believe
player
that.
to stay. We
There's
forced
no use
Diego
in doing
Costa to
that. You
stay.
might as well just
We
take.
forced
You might as well
Drogba
just
to
take the
stay.
money.
We forced Anelka to stay. We
That's
forced
half.
all of these
That's
players
how.
to stay.
That's how you create problems, though. The club ain't going to turn down a 30 million plus bid for both of them.
No, they're not. But why are they not? Because Tuchel doesn't have a plan for them. Otherwise, they would.
Well, he might do. They might just want to be starters.
Can we just go back? What I was going to say about Tuchel and about what his plan was for this season, especially with Broja in pre-season. He always said, and it always came out, that Tuchel wanted to have a look at him. He wanted to see what it was like.
Now he's had a week and he's been sent home to England.
But potentially,
or force his move back to England.
Potentially, do you think that Tuchel has turned around and gone, yeah, I've seen what I want to see in this last week. He's shit. I want him gone.
Yeah.
No, because he was injured. He was injured, though.
Not from day one, though. Also, Price, do you know why Broja came to preseason later than the others? Are we aware?
He was trying to get a move done.
Oh, that's because he was pushing it.
He was trying to get a move done, yeah.
That says enough. And I think you can force players to stay. Like, you don't force the whole squad to stay, but if you force one or two to stay, and then you act like force them to stay and then bench them all season, or do a Tammy who didn't even make the squad, of course you can't do that to them. Then they will kick up a fuss, because then they're like, why on earth did you refuse to let me go if you're not even going to play me anyway? Of course.
No,
but if you actually gave them chances, they wouldn't complain in hindsight, would they?
No, I think the Athletic reported that Broja nothing materialised over those, because he came in on like the Wednesday or the same day as Sterling, right? I think they reported that nothing materialised over the move, so a potential move. So now he was going to go to pre-season. And yeah, David Ornstein said that. So
there you go. There you go. Like I said, I mean, even though we've focused mostly about Broja because that's the big topic today, I think it's just a general topic where I'm like, and it more annoys me for Colwill, where I'm like, if number one, I don't want to just believe that a 19-year-old that's been here God knows how long cares less about the club than a manager that's been here 18 months. That's silly to assume, in my opinion. Because why? There's no logic behind that. Okay, go on. If you have a counterpoint to that.
The only thing I will say is that if you've played for Chelsea, you are guaranteeing yourself a future in years to come. So I think a lot of people realise, and a lot of youngsters realise, that if having Chelsea on their footballing CV holds a lot of weight, you know, like Pice might get it. You know, like if you have M&S or someone like that, one of the big kind of like department stores or retailers or something like that, M&S or John Lewis or Waitrose or something like that. If you've got that on a CV, it looks slightly more impressive. If you've had Chelsea, but if you have Chelsea on your footballing CV, even at academy level, you're always going to guarantee yourself a move. You're always going to set up your future. So you're saying that he's been at the club for so many years, which is why he'll really care. I don't necessarily think that is why he really cares. I think he wants to look after himself, and I think that I can't blame him. You know, again, it's all our own lives. You've all got to go and do what you got to do. But you know, I don't think you can say he's, you know, he doesn't love the club more or less or whatever. He wants to play football. He wants to love his football and love his career. And that's clearly what he thinks is best for him. Whether that's getting shed loads of money or playing regularly, that's down to him. But I think a lot of players will come into Chelsea, into the academy, knowing that even if it doesn't work out and I don't make it into the first team and I don't progress and I don't do this, they'll know they'll go and play good standard Championship League One football.
I do hear that. I think it's a fair point you've made. But I still think to some extent, though, I think it's harsh to assume that on anyone off the basis of a few kind of cryptic reports that we're now all just sat here, or not all of us, but that a lot of people are sat there and saying, Colwill just wants to leave. Like, on the basis of what? Like, If he did, why did he sign a contract 2 years ago? Like, if he wanted to leave so badly, he could have left 2 years ago. And like, someone made this a fair point in comparison to you can't force players to stay. Is it really for like what is the point of a contract in football if as soon as a player wants to leave according to price, you can't force someone to stay anyway? Why even give players more than 1 year contracts then? Because what benefit is there? Okay, selling them for profit, I get that, but when you want to keep them, isn't the whole convincing someone to sign a long-term contract? Isn't the whole idea that if you need to, you can then tell them to stay, like we did with Diego Costa, like we did so many others? I don't know. It's a tough one.
Giving Colwill a contract until 2026 should have shown him that from the club's point of view, look, we believe in you long term. It's up to him. Like, he signed that contract. So if he now wants to go to a Premier League club on a permanent move after one good loan spell in the Championship, that's on him. We've shown our ambition towards him by giving him that big contract. So,
but is that ambition, or is that just Chelsea wanting to tie down every youth player they have so that either they can make it to the first team or we can make money off them when we sell them?
Yeah, but you don't.
Or does that show anything?
He signed a 5-year deal. You don't have to give him a 5-year deal. Like, I think we extended Kilmore's contract for one more season, right? So now he can go on permanent now because we extended him. But we didn't extend.
Didn't we just use the option that we had on Gilmore rather than a full new contract?
I'm not sure, to be fair. That's a good point.
I'm not sure either, if I'm honest. But I'm not saying it can't mean it shows ambition from the club, but I'm saying it doesn't necessarily show ambition from the club, because we can't just do it out of our own benefit to gain. Because if Broja had 1 year left on the contract, we wouldn't be talking about £30 million offers now, would we? We would be talking about 10, 15 max for a player that's played one season in the Premier League and has 1 year left in the contract. You would barely get any money for it. But because he has 4 years left, or 5 years left, sorry, or 4 years left, yeah, there is bigger transfer fees that's being talked about. I feel like Clutch haven't really gotten you into this conversation yet. So what is your thoughts on the whole debacle? Now, is it a debacle? Is probably a strong one. And by the way, for people kicking off about the title, now, while I agree it is a bit of a clickbait title, fully aware, I was trying to word it nicer and differently and less eccentric, but I was genuinely struggling to explain it in few enough words without sounding drastic in either direction. Because I only have 100 characters for the title, and I had like 2 or 3 topics in the title, so it gets a bit difficult. But yeah, anyway. What's your perspective?
Wait, Laurenz, what did you put?
I said Tuchel versus Academy, question mark. Question mark is the important part, though. Like, I didn't do an exclamation mark and it says this is the rivalry now. And then what was the other thing? Broja getting sold, and then about other topics, and then Koulibaly. But go on, Clutch. What was your thoughts?
Before I go, do you want to dismiss Craig because he said he got to go?
Has he said that? Oh, yeah, I said that. Ian, I appreciate you for coming on. Sorry that we haven't gotten to talk about more than the academy, but I'm sure we'll see you again soon, and then we can talk about more things. Appreciate you hopping on, bro.
Indeed. No worries. Take care, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you're new around here as well. See you all later.
Yeah.
There you go. At least it won't take us as long to get through every topic now that we're a person less, so that's a positive. But you go first, Clutch, before I get to the super chat.
Well, I think it's a complicated situation. I don't think it's one thing or the other. I think there's multiple things happening. I mean, if you're as Colwill, I can see if you see us trying to get Kounde and you're trying to get Kimpembe and you're trying to get both of them. You already got Koulibaly. Spots are starting to close up because those guys are going to play, right? Silva's going to play. Koulibaly's going to play with Silva at some point. That's going to happen. So where is he going to play? Probably on the left with Kounde on the right, or vice versa. And then you still got Trevor Chalobah, who's going to get minutes, right? We forget about Trevor Chalobah. So there are still lots of center backs that would be ahead of him. So he's not going to get as much time as he probably would want. And I think the mentality thing, I think all these young guys, I think it's different. Loyalty only exists in life if both parties are benefiting from that loyalty. I think Colwell's point of view, he's not going to be getting what he wants. He's not going to be getting the time, because I think all these young guys these days, their mentality is, I need to play as much as I possibly can because I'm young. I can be better. I can always keep getting better. And if I'm good at 22, I'm good at 23. How good will I be if I keep playing when I'm 25? I think that's a lot of where a lot of this mentality comes from. That's why when I say there's not enough minutes for players. And I keep saying this, and I say this in the group chat all the time. It's going to be interesting that we're going to have this, because I guarantee you by the time December comes, we're going to see a lot of question marks about 3 or 4 players trying to leave. I think that's just going to happen. That's just how big the squad is, especially in the front. But for Broja, I think it's a little different. I do think you should see yourself as a different type of profile, and maybe Tuchel has said, "Hey, look, I don't want this profile," seeing how Lukaku did. But I guarantee you, Werner's going to start in the top at some point this year. As much as I don't want it to happen, he will be pure and he will be playing at some point up top. And I hear Pius audibly sighing. I'm sorry. I hate to break it.
I'm just hot, bro. I'm just hot.
But I think that's what it's at. I see it from both sides of the coin. Gallagher wanting to fight for his position. All these players wanting to fight for their position. And I think some people just see it differently, and they're willing to stay because they see a better pathway or something like that. Like Callum Hudson-Odoi is very highly thought of by Tuchel, right? I still don't think he's going to get as much minutes as we think he is. Maybe he might, but I mean, you have to go through Werner, you have to go through Sterling, Pulisic, Ziyech if he stays, Mount, all in this front three, and that's a lot of players to go ahead. And that's not even counting if like a Broja stays or something, you know. So I think it's all very complicated, and it's not such a simple answer as, well, we need to blame Tuchel because Tuchel is forcing out the academy. I think it's a large squad. That's what it is. And unfortunately, Tuchel's got to decide what he wants and when he wants it. Maybe last year did turn him off from big strikers, and that's unfortunately Broja following after Lukaku, and that sucks. Colwill, it's one of those things where
Broja,
these guys are all young.
He doesn't even like Lukaku though. Like he's anything more like Diego Costa, and that's not at all like Lukaku.
He's a big physical guy. He's 6'3".
He's not even that tall.
He's 6'3".
Is he? I swear he's not.
That's what I just read when I was looking him up, because I wanted to know how tall and how young he was. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things. It's not one blame here, one blame there. I think it's a multitude of things that are just building up after time, and I think we're just overreacting. Hopefully, the conversation, if Broja has the conversation as the professional he needs to be, like all the other players I mentioned earlier, they should all be having this conversation. Like, what's your plan? What do you envision for me? And he talked to Tuchel, and Tuchel didn't give him the vibes that he would have a good season or did get what he wanted out of it. It's within his right to ask to leave. I mean, that's within his right.
100%. And that's why it's the question. If it's on the basis of that, then I think, what are you doing, Tuchel? Just tell them what they need to be told. Again, they're 19, 20-year-old kids. They're stupid. Just tell them what they need to be told and take it another year further. If they don't get enough chances, we can talk about it next year. But we have so many problems to solve this year. We don't have the fucking time to deal with these youngsters trying to leave. We do not have time for this shit. So we just need, we need so many players. We do not have time to sign a striker. So fucking force Broja to stay, fix our striker issue for this season, and fix all the other problems in the squad where we need options. We still need a right wing back backup, in my opinion, because Aspie hopefully goes. We need a left wing back backup because, well, Emerson plays left centre back instead of left wing back, and I hope to the love of God that Marcus Alonso does not end up another season. Honestly, I'll probably not watch another game all season if Alonso stays here. Now, I can't say that because he probably will stay here, and I want to kill myself already. Do you know what I mean? We don't have time for that. We do not have time to deal with these little shits at the moment. You're from the academy, just shut up and let us deal with this now. We have such big problems at the moment. New ownership. We need players left, right, and centre, 2 centre-backs. For some reason, our manager wants 3 centre-backs. We need, in my opinion, 2 wing-backs. Ideally, another forward. And that's even without Broja leaving. We do not have time for these players going anywhere. That's why I'm saying just fucking force them. We don't have time for this.
Yeah, I think it's a madness because, like I said, the season's going to be very interesting. Very, very interesting, in my opinion. I think there's going to be a lot of things that we end up seeing that we're not going to like. And maybe there are going to be a lot of things we do see and we're going to like. So I'm desperately waiting to see what happens from here to November, because that's what's going to tell us what's going to happen here. But it's all such up in the air. I do agree. We need to get this stuff sorted out because, if we do stick with the back three, we do need a backup wing back. which I don't know why the Klaus guy hasn't been signed yet, even though we were linked with him a month and a half ago.
Because we're trying to buy Kounde, who Tuchel wants to use as right wing backup. That's going to go well.
Which is the next thing where I'm just like, what are you doing?
If that's
Tuchel,
the case,
man?
then I'm sorry. Tuchel does no. I'm not backing that.
If that's what he's
if that's him, then I'm sorry.
That's what he wants to do.
Bring me Jose back over that. I'm not doing that. That's just stupid. That's literally just stupid. Maybe Callum Hudson-Odoi Pulisic is his backup wing back. Who knows? But even then, Kounde, no. You are one of the smartest managers I've ever seen.
Like
You're
right
going to
back,
play Kounde at right wing back?
as a backup, sure, but no wing back, man.
Okay. I hope that's not true, Pius. I will jump off a cliff.
It's been reported for like the last week, and we put a bid in today for Kounde. So,
I mean, it's absolutely mental to me. I mean, Indefinite asks a good question. What striker are we going to buy? Dominic Calvert-Lewin, in case people didn't know what DCL stands for. Who's left? No one. There's no one left.
Christ.
The best player to sign is probably get Giroud back. It's probably the best backup striker we can get.
10 million. I'm down.
Yeah, and we sold him for 1 million. That would be the most typical Chelsea thing I've ever had.
He would end up being really bad when he came back. Oh, kill me.
Oh, man. Imagine we let Tammy and Giroud both go in the same window, signed Lukaku, and now we don't have enough strikers. Fucking brilliant, Chelsea. Fucking brilliant. Yeah, and that's the next thing about Broja, by the way. Even if he goes to West Ham, he'll be on the bench there all the same. No way he'll play over Antonio. Antonio is probably better than bloody Havertz as an actual striker. So, and they're apparently still interested in Scamacca from Italy, who I think is a bit of a clown, but sure. If they want him and they're willing to spend even more money on him than they are on Broja, which, by the way, are West Ham mental? Like, why are they trying to buy 2 strikers when they only play with 1 striker? They already have 1 striker in the club. I don't understand this at all. Antonio is not a winger. What? Maybe he used to be a winger. He also used to play right back, but now he's a striker. But
that is the biggest right back I've ever seen in my life.
It's
like
true.
6'2", 100 or like 200 pounds or something like that. It's massive.
And Bob, Antonio is good. Antonio scored more goals every season in the Premier League than Broja ever has in his career. I know it's only been 1 season, but still. I mean, Rafael Leao, you're talking about another left winger. We just signed the left winger in Sterling. Sure, he can't play on the left. I get that. On the right, I get that. But all the reports tell us Tuchel has told him we're going to play on the left. So we're clearly not going after another left wing, are we? But yeah, I do want to touch on that quickly in terms of what Clutch said about it's not just about the height. Broja is a very different body type to Lukaku, and definitely not in terms of play style like Lukaku, I would say. But yeah, I mean, does anyone have anything else to say about this youngster situation? Like I say, for me, it's just you have a contract. We don't have time to deal with you right now, so just tell them to stay. End of discussion. But unless Tuchel doesn't want to keep them. But if Tuchel doesn't want to keep them, I want to know why he doesn't want to keep them. Because 3 days ago, the press conference,
I was
he
just
said,
going to say,
we have all these number 9 options, and 2 days later, Broja's gone. What?
I was just going to say, Laurenz as well, bro. It's like money as well. Like, you know, like if we spend like 200 million, I think we did this last summer, didn't we? We bought Lukaku, but we spent, we sold 89 million worth of youth players, pretty much. Tammy, Tomori, and all that. So, you know, Todd Boehly's a business guy, although he probably, you know, there's been reports that he wants to get more youth players involved. At the end of the day, if you're getting 60 million from 2 youth players that have never started for Chelsea on the books, it looks pretty good. So there's that to consider as well.
That is good if it's in position where you have a surplus of players. But in their 2 positions, we don't.
Yeah. Well, see, for me, the Colwill thing
anyway, so it wouldn't really be much of a benefit.
Yeah, that's why I don't get why, like as you said earlier, why Broja doesn't see that pathway. Like, have you seen Werner play for Chelsea? Shit.
Yeah,
Havertz,
exactly.
you know, he's not going to play 60 games. Like, Sterling up top is probably, for me, when he mentioned Sterling up top, I was more thinking of like when we would go to like a back 4 and he would play like kind of off Havertz, you know, kind of the movement.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he'd play as like a false 9. You know, like I don't think you'd see like Pulisic, Sterling, Mount. I don't think that. So yeah,
I think you're going to be surprised, bro. I think it will happen at some point.
Yeah,
maybe it will, like,
just as much as I think Timo at number 9 will happen at some point.
The thing is, though, that is a very
City,
fluid
just
front
to
three.
hit on the break. with that
Yeah,
whole
that is
idea.
a very fluid front three. But at the same time, like, if I'm Broja, I just don't see how you can't see a pathway. Like,
Yeah, and then who
I
do
think
we
he's
go
stupid,
after
bro.
if he leaves, man?
I
Like,
don't
what?
know. We've had no rumors. I just hope it's not someone from a foreign league, and we don't. Yeah, if we sell Broja for 30 million and we buy like Skamaka for 40, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, it's again with Broja as well. Like, the thing is, I don't really. I'm interested to see if we buy a striker. Like, we have that profile on Broja, who's kind of more like a bigger transition striker. Because there's games I watched for Southampton anyway. I think I said it like a few months ago. I said I don't really think Broja will be that good under Tuchel because I think he's not. I don't think he really suits our system. So if
That's
we
why it
then
would
go,
be the backup striker when we play a different system.
but like if we go and buy like a striker that's like a big guy and we keep playing the three at the back, it just doesn't. It wouldn't really make sense. So, like, surely we've got to go for more. I don't
We've
know,
tried big
false
guy.
nine fluid options. You know, I'm
We tried
interested.
big
to
guy
see.
last year. Big guy don't work.
But at that point, I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
he was a bit.
Drew did
He
work,
was a bit of a dumb big guy. Like, he's got problems. Lukaku.
I think it just depends on what Tuchel sees Werner as. If Tuchel only sees Werner as a left-sided attacker, then
Man, I don't really
that's a
get
very
why.
scary thought. But
Sorry, I don't really get why Tuchel's mentioned him as a number 9. When the hell has he ever played Werner as a number 9 for Chelsea on
he's
his own?
done it before. It's not worked
no, he's
out,
done
but
it,
he's
but
done
in the
it.
front two very often, and then as a
Yeah,
single
no,
nine, I think maybe
but
two or three
as a
times last
single
season.
9, I think he played him against, what game was it? Was it Arsenal at home? I think he played, or Man United, one of those two. Other than that, he was always on the left, so he doesn't really count as a striker for me anyway. So I don't know
No,
why he's
same.
put him in that group. It's a bit weird to me.
I think you're going to be very surprised when he ends up playing as a 9 because people still believe he is a number 9. Which I don't know why people believe that, but every time I hear somebody talk about Timo Werner who's not like a Chelsea fan, they tell me, yeah, he's a number 9. Why are you guys not playing him up top? Why are you playing Havertz? Like, what do you mean why I'm not playing him up top? Because we're not counterattacking, and that's the only time he's decent.
Even then, he's not decent. I mean,
I use decently loosely, by the way.
But the reason for last season, Werner not ever playing there, even though Tuchel sees him as that option, is because we had 2 others, right? That's essentially the reason.
Yes,
and
I think,
yeah, if they don't
Werner
have a
will
lot of
get
injuries
minutes
to your main 2 strikers, you're never going to use the
Wait,
third striker.
yeah, even in the pre-season game, I just remembered he played off the left and Batshuayi was playing up front.
That's because Batshuayi's there.
Yeah, but if Tuchel, surely, Clutch, if Batshuayi's not going to be here, let's be honest with you. If Tuchel saw him as a number 9, surely he'd just play him there in pre-season. Like, he sees him off the left.
To be honest, I also think the reason why we saw that is because 1, Broja wasn't available, and 2, Sterling wasn't available. Sterling was available. Sterling starts the second half.
As weird as it sounds, Colwill
and
wasn't available, which meant Aspie couldn't play wingback, which meant Werner couldn't play striker because Kennedy couldn't play winger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons. In the next 2 games, we'll see what Tuchel's really wanting to do. I think a little bit more because Sterling will be available and Sterling will play off the left. So I very much anticipate Sterling starting the second half against Charlotte with Havertz and Mount. In the first half will be Pulisic, Werner, and Timo. That's what my guess will be.
You mean Ziyech or someone?
Yes. What did I say?
You said
I say
Pulisic, Werner, and Timo.
Yeah. That's Ziyech. Yeah.
There you go.
It's a long day, bro. It's a long day.
It's not even hot for you. You don't have that excuse.
It is hot.
Oh, is it?
But they have AC, to be fair, so they can't cry. And Rodrigo, just to make it very clear, no, I am very much aware of this. I just don't care because that's the whole point of a contract. Like, in my opinion, like, that's otherwise, why did we make such a fuss about Rodrigo? Because they're running on. If we let players go, obviously we didn't get money for them. I get that. But like I say, there's been so many much bigger players that we just forced to stay, even though they wanted to leave. I don't understand why all of a sudden we can't do that. To me, that's weird. Like, look, like we're doing the opposite. Like, De Jong is trying his hardest to stay at Barca. Like, go. And we're like, as soon as anyone asks, can I go? You're like, of course we can. Of course you can. Of course you can. Of course, why would you have to stay? We don't need players. We just have 50 million centre-backs and we want 3 more. Brilliant.
But isn't that the opposite of the situation you're talking about? Like,
No,
De Jong
he
wants to stay.
Barcelona doing the opposite to what we are doing. Which I guess that makes it sound like we're doing something right, because if Barca do the opposite, you should probably do, you're doing it right, I guess. But let's take this conversation to a different place. Now, quickly, ignore the rest of it. Just Pice, why do we want 3 centre backs? I know we've discussed this in the group chat plenty of times, but on stream we haven't.
I think
makes so much sense to me. Well, no, that's Kounde. Like, to me, Kounde also makes way more sense than Kimpembe, because Kimpembe is mainly a left-sided player and Koulibaly is mainly a left-sided player. Koulibaly can play on the right, at least he's right-footed. Fair enough. Whoever it is, this makes all the sense in the world. Why would we buy a third centre-back, and why would we allow Colwill to leave? Look at this. Looks perfect to me. And then if Silva can't play every game, you play Koulibaly in the middle, and Colwill plays on the left, or if Ampadu has a better season than Colwill, then you play Ampadu in the middle, and Koulibaly stays on the left. Surely that makes sense to everyone, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, it does make sense, but I still think Silva can play. I think we're probably preparing for his departure next year, and I think he's probably going to be on the bench this season. I think,
but even
much
if
less.
That's what we're doing to prepare for a player's departure in a year's time, isn't then the 19-year-old academy product way better suited to that than buying someone, getting ready for someone to leave in a year? Surely the academy product is way better suited to that. You already have
we might have told him that. He might not want to wait, which is what I keep saying.
Yeah,
Players don't want to wait a year.
But that's unlikely, though.
No, it's not.
Because if we did
they're
tell
not
him
going to
that,
believe
how
the
likely
words
is it that he
of
would
Chelsea.
really still want to leave? I just don't see that as likely.
Because word to words, actions are actions. If you've got some other club offering you 30 starts at Crystal Palace, further in developing your career, and you've got Chelsea and Tuchel say, "Oh no, by the way, Colwill, wait a year. Yeah, you're one of the Silva replacements." He ain't going to do that. Word to words. Why would you believe that? There's no proof there. They might, if you're Colwill, you might stay, and then Chelsea might go, "Oh, actually, we've changed our mind. We're going to buy someone else now." You know what I mean? Like this opportunity's come up on the market.
Which is half the problem. And Tuchel did the same thing with Hakimi and Livramento last year. Livramento might still be a Chelsea player if we didn't try to sign Hakimi for some unnecessary reason. And in the end, we didn't get Hakimi, and we didn't keep Livramento, and had to play Aspie at right wing back half the season. And that was half a downfall. Like,
yeah, but you see the difference is this summer. The difference is this summer, I feel like we will get targets that we want. Like, I do think if he wants 2 centre backs, I do.
What, on August 31st?
No, this week. I think
we'll
get
2
more this week.
But even if we sign 1 or 2 more this week, then we still, and also they're both, one of them is an unnecessary centre back, so that doesn't even count in my opinion. So that means we've then basically signed 3 players plus 1 unnecessary one, which means we need still another 2, if not 3 after that. When are we going to sign those?
Well, then...
I'm baffled, man. I'm baffled. But let's talk about some more positive things. Well, first, the super chat. We always try to buy our way out. We deserve this. I mean, to some extent, yes. Yeah, no,
what does he mean by that comment? I'm confused.
I don't think it's try to buy our way out. I think it's more of a case of we force ourselves to buy our way out of problems. That's rather it. Yeah, that we put ourselves in a situation where all of a sudden we don't have any strikers, and then we need to buy fucking Andy Carroll on deadline day. Do you know what I mean? That's what he's talking about, I think. Because that's what it looks like. Or bring Giroud back all of a sudden. Well, who won't even want to come because he'll be like, bro, I'm the boss here at Milan. I just won the league. I'm balling left, right, and centre. I'm not going back. What are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? But
I think
go on.
I think what that comment is meaning, basically what we said last week, is sometimes you have to have the right mix of buying and keeping players that might have potential. So, like last week when we had the last standing conversation, and it's one of the things I very much stress with this, is when something doesn't go right, automatically we just say screw it and we give up. And I think that's a problem that we have. And we don't buy players, or we don't even use.
Convince them.
Yeah. I think a lot of players see our Callums, our Pulisics, our Ziyech's, who know they have not worked out to the best of their ability, but they're not. And Ziyech is a little older, so it's a little different, but maybe even like a Havertz, but they see players like that, and they're like, oh, well, they're not really given the opportunity before they're sold to be the best they can be. And I think a lot of the doubt starts to seep in there. And I think that's also why we have problems with transfers a little bit. So maybe a player like second guess, like, oh, maybe my career isn't going to go the way I think it is automatically. Like, obviously you should back yourself. Obviously, I think all of this can be true. At the same time, I think players need to have that confidence within themselves, but at the same time, have that leeway to fail every once in a while. Because, I mean, that's just how it is. Some players are going to fail. That's what it is. They're going to not have a great season. Even Hazard had bad seasons. But the problem with Hazard is he's had so many good seasons before that, that one bad season kind of doesn't really count. I think it's all complicated in that regard, I think. And that's why I think just trying to solve a problem by buying it is the wrong idea.
Fair. This whole, how many kids... I don't see Liverpool having kids for backup. I mean, have you heard of Harvey Elliott? So you're wrong. Regular starters, different situation, but have you heard of Phil Foden? I mean, I'm not saying we don't have that in Mount and Reece James. I'm not saying we don't have it, but you can't just say they don't have it. Clearly they do. Oh, you said one, maybe two combined. Yeah, fair. But as backups is exactly what you need. If our squad was in a position like Man City's, where we would basically wouldn't need to strengthen our first team and would only need to strengthen our backup options, then it's a very different situation to be able to sell the youth players that aren't maybe that great. And Broja, in my opinion, isn't that great. I don't think Broja will ever be good enough to be a regular starting number 9, if I'm honest. But we need someone there this season. And because I don't think we will get the type of backup striker that I think we need, that's why I need to keep him. And it's just as simple as that. Like, if we had as great of a squad, we could do what City do and spend 40 million on Phillips to be a backup player. Essentially. I mean, maybe he'll play higher up in midfield, all their switch formation, but most likely it's going to be Rodri's backup, which is mental because Rodri isn't even that old. But I don't know. It's crazy to me. Like, I just, why? Like, we waste so much money and talent. It's crazy. Like,
Cole Palmer, Nico Williams, the guy in the chat who said you didn't only name 2 guys for the Liverpool and City Academy. We can go on. There's a bunch of players that they do play from the academy, but it's not like always. Like, City's a little bit different because they buy.
But there's not that many. Like, it's fine. But the problem is they still they had time to buy the adequate, additions, and they could just add extra players because their first team didn't need strengthening. But our first team needs strengthening. And you can't in the same window strengthen your first team and your backups. You can only do one thing. Or not one thing, but you can't do everything all at once. And also, that's also a fair point. I mean, maybe not than City's over the last couple of years, but our academy has produced way more than Liverpool's academy. Name me one other Liverpool academy player. What? Jordan Ibe? Did they even come from our academy? I don't know. But do you know what I mean?
Jay Spearing.
Who?
Jay Spearing.
That's what I'm saying. Who? Nah, but let's we've been going for an hour and 20 and we haven't even talked about more than one topic. So let's talk about Koulibaly, who we have signed. Mental, we haven't even spoken about this. Sterling is not from the Liverpool academy. If anything, from the QPR academy, did he not? But anyway, Koulibaly, we've signed a player, £33 million, crazy business. Sure, only 1 year left in the contract, 31 years old. Thankfully, in the end, it turned out to only be a 4-year contract with potentially an option for a 5th that no one is aware about. Not 5 years like it was initially reported. But yeah, in the end, I'm very happy with that. Great signing. Much shorter than I realized. He's 6'1". I thought it was at least 6'3", if not 6'4". Maybe 6'5". I thought it was an absolute man mountain. Turns out he isn't. Which explains why he was always so fast on FIFA. Also explains why he's not as good in the air as I thought he would be. Which is maybe his only small negative or weakness. Because everything else, passing, tackling, speed, he's creating all of those things. Positioning. So I'm very happy we got Koulibaly. Very, very happy. I don't understand why we need 3 centre-backs. I'm like, if you get Kounde, great. If you really need Kimpembe, the whole Kimpembe thing annoys me as well. Like, why are we giving Tuchel his old player? Just turn Colwill into Kimpembe rather than buying Kimpembe from your old club. Do you know what I mean? What? Did Kimpembe come through the PSG academy, by the way? Or did they sign him from somewhere? I don't even know.
No idea, to be fair.
Me neither. Kimpembe is at least reasonably young. I mean, so is Kounde, of course. But yeah, I'm waffling. Let's focus on Koulibaly. Price, you're very happy with Koulibaly, are you not?
Yeah, I am. I think it'll be a great addition. I think in terms of physically, he has all the attributes to succeed in the Premier League. Yeah, I think he's fast. He's really, really good on the ball. That's one thing I want to stress is so important. Left foot, right foot. Um, yeah, I mean, you remember how we used to watch Rudiger last season? Everyone was like, you don't really know what foot he's pinging it with sometimes. Or Koulibaly actually used, like, he used his left foot. Yeah, no, his left foot because he's right footed more often than Rudiger did with his weak foot. So. Yeah, he's 2-footed is what I'm trying to say in a long version. But
I'm sure
yeah,
most people will have seen that clip on Twitter where he absolutely rifles it into the top corner with his weak foot. That was mental.
yeah, I think it'll be a really good signing for us. Obviously, it's good as well because he knows Jorginho and he knows Mendy, so he's not coming into a complete sort of, you know, um, coming into a place where he knows no one and he's got to start from fresh because he spent 8 years in Naples. And yeah, I mean, I did a podcast as well with a Serie A expert, Marco Messina from CBS Sports. He's analysed Koulibaly since 2014, and he thinks it'll be a really good signing. So yeah, kind of everything we spoke about in that episode, kind of just any doubts that I did have, kind of smoothed me over. And he actually said, like, I know you mentioned about the aerial duels and things like that. Obviously, I mentioned you in that episode as well. He said, yeah, Koulibaly is actually like he thinks he's quite a force in the air. So we'll have to see what happens next season. But
That's interesting.
yeah, I think
Because eye test is always because on eye test you would say Rudiger is amazing in the air. Stats tell you he's okay in the air.
yeah, I was like, so what about his aerial duels? Because and then I bought what you said up about. He's got some good other stats, but his aerial duels are not great. And he was like, "Oh no, man! Like Koulibaly from corners is an absolute force. Like you don't want to go against him and things like that." So I was like, "Okay, that's interesting. We'll have to see." So
That's
yeah,
interesting
I think
because
it's a good signing.
because he mentioned corner specifically, right? Maybe he's just really good in that kind of for corners. Everyone's like wrestling with each other. Maybe he's just good.
Oh,
at that
look at that
part,
bloke.
maybe
He's an absolute beast, man.
maybe
He's a
open play
beast.
struggles more. I don't know.
Like he's a beast. Just look at him. Like he's not huge, but like he's just a beast. Like you saw him running with Colwill as well. Like on the just after the game the other day. Like just looks like a tank, bro. Like yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to play. I wouldn't want to play against him or have him running at you at full force. From a corner or something. So yeah, I think it's
There
good
you go.
business. Just have to
Yeah.
see where he plays, how he fits in, and how quickly he adapts. Because although he's a very good player, like playing in Serie A for so long is, there will be some sort of adaptation period. But I think he's good enough to limit that to a couple of games at most, maybe. He might not even have any adaptation. He might just be unreal. Who knows? But
I'm sure it helps him to have Mendy behind him, to have obviously Thiago Silva, who used to play in Italy as well, so probably speaks some Italian still. People around him to converse in. Obviously, Kante in front of him speaks French and stuff. So there's a lot of players around, and Koulibaly's good at English as well, which I didn't know until a few weeks ago. Laurenz is cancer to the Chelsea fan base. Now, my big question is, why are you here? Like, that's what I don't understand. If you hate me so much and you compare me to cancer, right? It's quite a bad thing. Why are you here? Just go away then. I don't care.
that sounds like my Twitter comments every day.
It's just hilarious. Like, is your life really that sad that you hate something so much and that's what you consume? Just go somewhere else then. I don't know. Have a wank if that. I don't know. It makes you happy because clearly you need to let out some anger.
I already timed him out. He may not hear you right now.
Timeout just stops him from chatting. He should still be hearing us, unless he left on that basis. But do you know what I mean? Like,
wait, no, unban him. I want to hear why he thinks that. I'm always intrigued because, like, if you're that angry, I want to know. Like, I always really intrigued when someone goes that far. I want to know what's triggered you to that point. Like, what have you said that's cancer? Like, I just want to know.
He missed last week when Laurenz got offered more money to kick me off.
Yeah. Yeah, someone said Clutch ruins the show. I was like, hey, $100 and he's got
secure the bag.
There you go. But yeah, in terms of what you said, Pius, in terms of where Koulibaly will play, well, that probably all depends on who we sign. If we sign Kounde, Koulibaly probably plays in the left. If we sign Kimpembe, Koulibaly probably plays in the right. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, most likely. And then if we sign Kimpembe and Kounde, you'd think Koulibaly plays in the middle, which is why I don't like to see Silva being benched when he's so good at this age would be a bit weird for me. But yeah, I don't know, bro.
He wouldn't be benched, bro. I think they would move. I think it'd be like an interchanging pieces. One day Silva might get rested, which means Koulibaly's in the middle. Then you have Kimpembe, and then you have Kounde. Maybe one day.
So you think we change it game to game? Because I don't think that ever will happen.
I do. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. It'll be 4 center backs, and maybe Chalobah will get up run in every once in a while. And Koulibaly will just fit in where one of them.
I think you can't change your defense too much. I think your defense is the one thing that needs to remain constant.
That's true. If one of them wasn't 38.
Yeah.
But how many games did he start last season? Like, that's what I'm saying.
You're right.
Like, everyone, like, even on Twitter as well, I'm like, Silva's 38. Yeah, he's not going to start as many games. Like, how the fuck do you know? He's fucking like he's different human, mate.
It just depends. I mean, if we end up being much worse without him, like we were last year, where we had to use him as much as we did.
True.
Then we will use him as much as we possibly can.
As much last year if we had better options as well. Which is the only scenario in which I kind of understand the 3 centre backs idea, but again,
like that's what I'm saying. I get both sides of it. It's so like I don't know. I don't want 3 centre backs, but I also see the logic in doing it, even if it's small.
Especially because if you sign 3, one of them will be on the bench in the big games if Thiago Silva's fit, and that's mental.
And that's what I say. I don't see that as realistic. Yeah. Like, are you gonna spend?
Like, you're telling me we can't convince Colwill to wait a year, but we can convince a new signing?
Mate, it's like you're telling me like Kimpembe, Kounde, or Koulibaly is going to be happy to be on the bench against a Man U. Like that's exactly. I don't see that as real. That's why I kept saying for the last week and a half we're only going to buy 2 centre backs. But if we really actually are going to buy 3, then Tuchel better know what he's doing because. Could be some problems. I don't know.
Or just move to the back 4, and we can
that
buy
makes even
one
less
more.
Sense. That would. I think that makes even less sense, though.
Yeah. Go to the back 4 and buy just 1 centre back. Use Ampadu as the DM backup rather than as a centre back, and then it all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But Tuchel doesn't want to do that for some, to me, unbeknownst reason. But hey, that's a whole different question for another day. But Clutch, in general, you happy with the signing of Koulibaly? I mean, in the end, now De Ligt is basically all but confirmed to be going to Bayern Munich for, 80 million euros, 68 million pounds, which compared to what we're paying for Koulibaly, obviously De Ligt is 9 years younger, which is a big, big difference. But if you compare their stats, and I wasn't necessarily on that vibe until I compared them proper on stats, I would still not be 100% sure, but the price difference, I'm like, I think we got the better deal here. But then again, if we let a 19-year-old starlet centre back go ourselves, then maybe we should have gone for the young centre back and not the old one. But I'm very happy with the signing. Are you, Clutch?
Yeah, I think I am. I watched a couple comps the last couple of days over Koulibaly, and I think what you... I
love doing that when like if we sign Skamaka, I'm just gonna be watching his long shots and forget every single bad thing about him. I love doing that.
But yeah, I think the reasons you would like a De Ligt is because he's young, he's got that leadership potential. But very few people are better than Koulibaly in one-on-one defending scenarios, which is something we're desperately gonna need to keep. As far as like his aerial threat on corners, from what I see. He's just positionally very good. I don't see him scoring very many headers. I see him scoring a lot of like shots, like balls that he's like in position and he just rifles it in. And he's got a very good shot on him for a center back. So for a defender, I think that is what we need. He's got the leadership capabilities. He can take over for Silva in the middle when we need to. He's going to be a lot more commanding than like a Christensen will be. I think he'll fit just fine for us, to be honest.
I agree. And like I say, I'm very, very happy with the signings. Now, is there any other transfer talk that we should cover other than the 2 centre-back situation? Obviously, like Pies touched on earlier, we have, according to Nathan Gissing, or CFC News page, if you don't know him, as Nathan Gissing, made a bid of 42 million. Was it pounds or euros, Pies?
Yeah, it's pounds. So it's 42 million plus add-ons. But he said it was a proposal and not a bid. So I'm thinking it's kind of like Todd Boehly going, verbally, is this enough? And then obviously they might have said no, probably have said no, and then maybe we'll come in with like an official bid. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting on Kounde. I was saying this with Jem yesterday. He's like itching to get in. I'm just like, for me, Barcelona, like I just feel like we've messed Kounde about so much over the last year and a half that he's probably just going to go Barca. But let's see.
Not wrong. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we've made an offer for him. But is there anything else? There's no real wing-back talk. There is no attacker talk anymore. Gnabry has signed a new contract at Bayern. Like, now at the moment, it's just the centre backs and our youth players leaving. That's really all the transfer talk.
Pretty much, yeah. Taking it day by day, week by week, trying to get position sorted. Yeah, it's pretty much what you said. Centre backs and youth players leaving / forcing their way out / Tuchel being a fraud. We will never know.
Fair play. Fair play. Let's quickly also, before we finish this off, talk about the game, which obviously took place, well, let's say 1.5 days ago, because it was at crazy hours in the morning. 3 a.m. UK time was kickoff against Club America in in Las Vegas. In my opinion, a poor turnout. I mean, it might be partly to do with Vegas, I don't know, but yeah. If we go on these US tours, can we please make sure we're playing full stadiums and actually sell the shit out rather than them selling to each ticket for $120 and then the stadium be half empty? Surely just sell them for $70. You'll probably sell more tickets and you will quite literally make more money. That's just quick maths. But yeah, let's talk about the game. What was this here again? He was sent to earlier. Well, some Donny, Jose Alvarez, from Spain, said, but Azpilicueta's move to Barcelona is a matter of days. Alonso's move was stalled due to Chelsea's high asking price, which is fucking brilliant. If Alonso stays, honestly, I will shoot myself. But let's talk about the game. Let me actually get the highlights. We won't do player ratings for everyone, but let me just get the lineups for each half up. Is this the correct one? How do I know now? Let's hope it is. It is. That was the lineup in the first half. We played 2 completely different 11s. So that was that. Unfortunately, the likes of Harvey Vale, Billy Gilmore didn't get any minutes anyway. Obviously, Sterling wasn't fit yet and Koulibaly wasn't fit yet. And Armando Broja obviously injured his ankle as well as wanting to leave, apparently. And it seemed like there was a lot of fans there. I mean, maybe half was an exaggeration, but I feel like across from the camera, like the main side stand, right, I swear the stadium holds like 80,000 people. Does it not?
Yeah, but he's right. There was about 47,000 there. It was just
there
because
was.
it was so like scattered. Like,
then...
yeah, everyone was scattered, so it didn't look full. Like on the camera, it would look like it was a lot of empty seats. Like people.
Also, you got to understand, a lot of that was probably Club America fans too, because that's very close.
Oh yeah, there was like a whole.
Apparently, it only holds 65,000 actually. So 47 is.
I don't think so.
There was a whole Club America section behind one of the goals, so. There was a lot of Club America fans there. I think there was even Arsenal fans there because people were booing them on the stadium.
Yeah. Is it the Allegiant Stadium, Pice?
Yeah, Allegiant or something it's called, yeah.
There you go. Well, that, according to Google, holds 65,000 people. But anyway, this was the lineup. I'll run you through my opinion, and then the boys can run you through their opinion, and then we can move on to the second half. Now, it's the Dodger Stadium that hosts 80K. Really? I thought baseball stadiums never hold 80K because they don't do one side, right? So they can't be that big. I thought. But anyway, this was the lineup in the first half. Kepa didn't have much to do, but decent. Sarr had one good tackle, otherwise nothing much to see. Thiago Silva was as good as ever. Chalobah was decent. Kennedy was clearly far out of position because he could not hold the line to save his life. But he was probably our most dangerous player in the entire first half, so that tells you enough about that game. And Havertz missed his hit, of course. Chilwell on the other side still looks a bit rusty, but that's more than understandable. It's his first game since he got... Well, I know he played 3 minutes against... Who did we play in the last day?
Watford.
Yeah. So he played like 3-4 minutes in that game, obviously at the end, but touched the ball once. So this was his first proper game since injury against Juventus. So obviously it would make sense that he would be a bit rusty, but he was a bit rusty. Gallagher had a good game. Barkley was as invisible as Barkley is. Hudson-Odoi was absolutely dog shit. I know Price doesn't quite agree with me, but I was incredibly disappointed with Callum because every year I hope for more from Callum. Every year I hope for more. And then every year I see him play and you're like, you're still as shit as you were last year. Every year, same thing happens. And it just disappoints me because I actually think of him as a really talented player that I still have hope for. And every time he disappoints me. And that's why I'm sometimes so vocal and angry at him because I have hope in him. And that's why it frustrates me so much that I never see anything good from him, really. Like, he gets the ball, makes 2 steps forwards, tries to take on a play, pass it back. And that happened every time he had the ball. Every time. And he didn't even get the ball much. It never made any deep runs. Never. Like, Ziyech and Havertz were running their asses off on the right side of the pitch, left, right, and centre. Hudson was doing nothing. Of course, maybe it was to do that Kennedy was a bit more mobile than Chilwell, and that's why we used the right side more than the left. Maybe it had to do with Chalobah on the right rather than Sarr, and the team trusts that side. All explanations. But fact of the matter is, Hudson was dog shit. Ziyech was decent. Had one good cross to Thiago Silva, which forced a good save. And Havertz was poor in finishing, otherwise okay. That would be my quick summary of all the players. Clutch, what about you?
Well, most of the first half, I didn't see it. So.
Add whatever you want to say.
From what I heard, Kennedy was really good. I don't know about that. I heard Gallagher was really good.
Bit of an exaggeration.
I heard Gallagher's passing was really good and showed that he can probably play in that position if we need him to. You guys were talking about how Callum wasn't great. I did see a few moments he did drive forward a little bit, and I thought that was good. And then the back line normally is just as good as they usually are, except Sarr. I guess he was okay. I guess.
Season, he had the best tackle of the day. So fair play. Well, not because the others didn't do good tackles. He was the only one that had the opportunity for a good tackle, but he pulled it off very well. Now, Nizar Kinsella, newly for the Standard rather than Goal.com, has reported that Billy Gilmore could actually leave permanently this summer, so that's fun. Anyway, Pice then, quick summary of all the players in the first half. Who were you happy with? Who were you not happy with?
Yeah, I watched all the game in depth. I don't know how I stayed up, to be honest with you. The first half was a bit boring. Gallagher definitely stood out. He should have had an assist. He was really, really decent on the ball. I liked him. Like every time he received the ball, he dropped his shoulder and he got past a few people. Like I liked that. Like it showed that he had a little bit about him. Still way too early to say though. Like there was a couple of moments where he was under pressure. And one time he passed the ball off the pitch when he got pressed in that sixth position. And I think everyone just ignored that. But yeah, I mean, he looked all right.
When he tried to switch ball to Chile and Chile didn't quite get there?
No, there was another moment where he literally he got past the ball from Chilwell and he passed it off the pitch, and it was like, well. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how you quite achieved that. No, it was just bad accuracy, and that's what I've said sometimes about Gallagher. Like he's not the best on the ball, but this game he was pretty decent.
I mean, the ball to Havertz was great.
Yeah, it was good. And I was watching that because I was like, people say it was an easy ball, but the amount of times we had attacks last season, we messed up the final ball. So I was like, fair play.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's easy to say a ball is easy just because the passing lane is open, but for a through ball, when to put the attacker one-on-one with the goalkeeper. It's the difficult part isn't the direction. The difficult part is the weight on it. Don't underhit it so the striker needs to stop the run. Don't overhit it so the goalie catches it easily. That's the difficult part of the through balls, not the direction. Obviously, the direction was easy in essence. There was little players to block the pass, but he weighted it very well.
Yeah. Who else am I thinking of? Ziyech, I thought was absolutely abysmal.
Really?
Apart from his free kick, I thought he was shocking, bro. He just looked so like every time he tried to dribble, like he was trying to do flicks and stuff. Like he tried to like outside the foot passes that the defender just intercepted and got nowhere near Havertz. I was like, what are you doing? But Ziyech frustrates me anyway a lot of the time. Yeah, Hudson-Odoi, he had a couple of good runs, but I do agree. Other than that, kind of invisible. Didn't really impress that much. Clutch would be good to hear. Like I thought Pulisic was much better, even though he was playing off the right. So,
can I ask you something, Pice? Actually, a genuine question. Do you think it's worse when a player doesn't see the ball much, or do you think it's worse when a player sees the ball but then ruins it every time? Because to me,
I don't think he ruined it.
I think he just plays demand the ball and then mess it up than not even demand.
I think he just plays too safe now, bro. I think he's playing quite safe.
But even
there was a couple of times.
I didn't look at the touches, but I'm sure Callum had like half the touches of Ziyech, not even just.
Oh no, he did. But I would say, and I don't know whether it's because of Chilwell, but we did play down the right all the time. Like because Gallagher was right centre on the right in this, he wasn't on the left. Barkley was on the left.
Switched. I feel like sometimes Barkley was on the left, sometimes it was on the right, but.
Every time I saw Barkley, he was on the left, and we just it was all going down Kennedy, Gallagher, Ziyech. I think that's why I got annoyed with Ziyech because he kept losing the ball. Yeah. And maybe I just noticed that more. I don't know.
No, I hear that. I hear that side of it. Like I said earlier, it might be to do with Chalobah, Kennedy, Gallagher, and Ziyech. It might also be the lack of trust in rehab Chile and Sarr But also, I think someone as talented as Callum needs to just demand the ball more. And like I said, after you said you thought he was good, then I thought he was really poor. I was like, am I really this off? So I tried to pay attention to him, right? And I didn't see him come for the ball once. And when I say come for the ball, I'm not saying drop into our own half and say, give me the ball. But Ziyech was constantly shouting and making runs to receive it. Callum was just standing around. I'm like, obviously, no one's going to
thought for the first 20, 30 minutes, I thought he was up there with one of our best players, because I think he had the ball a lot and he was driving forward. But then as towards the end of the half, sort of last 10, 15 minutes, he just kind of disappeared. And yeah, that's where I agree with you. He didn't really do much after that. The initial sort of burst he had at the start of the game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because it was a preseason game, there was not quite enough data to actually look at touches of each player and stuff. But hey, we move on. Let me get the lineup for the second half up on screen. Let me close that one so I don't accidentally open the wrong one. Like I say, we changed 11 players. Now, Pies, are you aware why Mendy didn't play?
He was doing some individual work, I think.
Why? Was he injured? Or?
I'm not sure. I think Tuchel mentioned something about workload or something. I can't remember. There was a few players that didn't play due to that. I have no idea why. Maybe also he wants Bettinelli to play out and get a game, and I don't know.
Because Mendy's going to play most of the season anyway.
So so who cares? It's Club America, isn't it? He'll probably play against Arsenal and Charlotte, maybe. Yeah, I mean the second half was much better. Alonso, Jesus Christ, he was annoying the shit out of me, as per usual. James's back pass, I mean, I feel really bad for Azpilicueta, by the way. Everyone was going mental at him because James was the one who scored the own goal, and on the Chelsea stream, the camera pointed to Azpilicueta.
Yeah, and the guy even
looked really guilty.
Aspie did it, and everyone was like...
Even I did it. I mentioned in the chat, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Just get out.
and as soon as it changed, no one was as harsh.
I know. I was like, what the fuck is Aspie doing? And I was like, yeah, fuck.
Did you see James's face afterwards? Right, he looked back and he just looked straight ahead and just kept walking. He wasn't even going to look back because Bertinelli, that was one of that. What are you doing, bro? Why are you so far over there? Why are you not?
It's not even that. It was just he was so close. He was so slow.
Actually did everything right. So footballers are taught to don't pass it back to the center of the goal, and the goalies are told stand next to the goal, because if the touch messes up from the goalie, it can't slip through into a goal. It slips out for a corner. That's why remember when Jorginho passed it back and Kepa wasn't in goal against Man United? It was the same thing. Jorginho passed it to the middle and Kepa was next to the goal, because the goalies are told be next to the goal. But they're not always there, because it depends on situation of play, right? Sometimes they have the time to move, and sometimes you just need to stay in the middle because there's too much pressure from the opposition. But the problem is players just need to look up. Just look up, and then it's easy. It's not like James can't complete the pass. But yeah, then where the criticism for Bettinelli comes in, it was just way too slow to move across.
It was like a snail trying to get that ball. I've never seen someone so unathletic. He's a goalie, but Kepa stops that.
I missed the days of having Willy Caballero as a third choice goalkeeper.
Why couldn't have you even dived for it? Just palm it or something. Why didn't you go on the floor? He could have easily stopped it.
Because then it would have been an indirect free kick from where he touched it.
Still better than no goal.
That's true. It's true. Also, would have been a bit of fun, in a dead preseason game.
Exactly.
Free kick.
Still better than Liverpool fans saying, "Oh, look at this fraud, Reece James scoring an own goal in preseason."
It's true.
Okay, no, that was annoying.
Now, my biggest problem with the second half was the fact that we had not a single actual centre back playing. Because Aspie's actually a right back. Barcelona are signing him as a right back, or want to sign him as a right back. Emerson is a left back, played all of last season as a left back. And Ampadu played all of last season as a centre mid, I think. And for Wales, plays as a centre defensive mid. Our back three was Emerson, Ampadu, Azpilicueta. Now, of course, I understand that's to do with that Koulibaly wasn't fit yet. That Colwill is still kind of recovering from a small niggle and wasn't used, therefore. And obviously, we're still waiting to sign another centre back. So I understand it, but I feel like surely in that position, but I guess it's easier for Aspie and Emerson to play wide centre-backs than it is for them to play flat centre-backs in a back four. So maybe that's the idea. But yeah, especially when you don't have enough centre-backs, and not even then they will play a back four. So I have no hope that we'll ever play a back four other than when we have 15,000 injuries to our centre-backs. But yeah, Bettinelli, well, screwed that one up. Otherwise, had nothing to do. Emerson, well, he made one good tackle when they countered us. Otherwise,
didn't really notice him.
Yeah. Oh, and one good cross he had, and one good shot he only put just wide, remember?
True. Yeah.
And one great cross to Pulisic. The Pulisic should have done a bit better with. I think that was.
Oh yeah, he was the one who crossed that, wasn't he? Yeah. I'm being an idiot. I've already forgot what he did.
So Emerson did 10 times as much as Alonso, attacking wise. Even I know Alonso got the assist for Mount, bro. It was a 5-yard sideways pass. You're not getting any credit for that, right? And people that give him credit for that. This is why we have Alonso at the club, because those are your standards. Because you give credit for those things. That's why a player like Alonso is still at our football club. But anyway, because people, I gave Alonso a 4, right? A rating. And people were saying he was like one of our best players. I'm like, sorry.
You remember him on the counter? He had a counter attack where I think it was either Batshuayi or Pulisic who was running down the right-hand side, and he was open and he kicked it right at the keeper. Like he low kicked it right at the keeper. And like,
cross, when he probably should have shot, and it was an awful cross anyway. Like shocking, absolutely dreadful footballer. And then he just constantly passed it straight to the opposition under any sort of pressure. And this is Club America. This is when I go back to my judgment of that I had at the Club World Cup when I didn't really praise anyone, because I'm like, bro, these teams, you're not getting any credit for doing anything against these lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are players on a completely different, like, the amount of funding that's in football in Europe, especially in England. We should be battering every team from other continents 10-0, quite frankly. Not because they're that much worse, but because we should be that much better with how much more money is invested into football over here than it is in other places like Mexico, like South America, like just because they don't have the money, not because they don't want to, but because they don't have the money. But anyway, Alonso, poor. James, good, other than the own goal. Should have had the assist for Timo, but Timo bottled it first and needed the rebound, so he didn't officially count as an assist. But James in general was pretty good. Jorginho and Mount were, as much as I thought Gallagher was good, the big reason why the second half was so much better was because Jorginho and Mount played in midfield rather than Barkley and Gallagher. And mostly because of Barkley, but we just had so much more control and passed it through the opponent so much easier that we found it much easier to get attacks. That was my assumption anyway. Timo Werner, was dog shit other than his goal. Pulisic could have had a tap-in if Jorginho, not tap-in, but a huge chance if Jorginho just passed it to him straight after half-time. Instead, he shot himself. Not a bad shot anyway, but if he just lays it through to Pulisic, Pulisic is 1-1 with the keeper and potentially scores. Maybe not, who knows. But and Batshuayi was poor. I mean, he was exactly what I expected from Batshuayi. It was no worse than what I expected, but it was just Batshuayi being Batshuayi. And Mason Mount, good. And then a great goal at the end. That's how I'd explain it. Anything you would like to add, Pice, to all the individuals?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, a shout out to Ethan Ampadu, because I thought he was very good. You know what Tuchel said as well. He didn't just play sideways passes and kept it safe. He was playing some really nice line breaking passes into midfield. And
almost
one
like
of one of the criticisms I had last season, even though I love Thiago Silva to death, like I fucking love the guy, sometimes he would just play it way too slow, or he'd always go wide. Like he would never try and some of it was because of the lack of movement in midfield, you know, with Kante and stuff. But I just felt like Ampadu's first thought was get it into that midfield, you know, so Mount can drive with the ball. He was constantly looking for Mount. And I just felt like, I don't know whether it's because they have a connection, because of, you know, they've known each other for years or something, but yeah, I really liked the fact that he tried and, you know, tried difficult passes. Like he was really, really positive and you know, he had a couple of duels to win and he came out with the ball really well. So yeah, I'm hoping Ampadu does get more opportunities in the next few games. I thought he was really good in that. I want to see him in midfield though as well, because you know, he's very versatile. And I think that could go to his favour this season because you know, I think it was someone said it, we reported last summer. Apparently, Tuchel asked like Chalobah when he first met him, like, "What position are you?" And Chalobah said, "Well, you know, I'm ideally a midfielder, but I can also play centre back and things like that." And or maybe it was the other way around. Basically, he was telling him he's very versatile, and that helped him towards his chances. So, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I agree with you, mate. Another super chat from Indefinite a few minutes ago, actually, which I missed. I do apologize, mate. Saying, I was there. It was great. I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. Obviously, you guys out in America don't get to see the boys, well, at all, really, in person. So I'm glad for all of you that got the chance to see it live. The Chelsea end was completely sold out, and they showed it when everyone was grabbing drinks, food, etc. Mason Mount's goal was cold. I mean, but was there a Chelsea end? This wasn't like a competitive game. So it wasn't just, I mean, behind the goal, maybe one more Chelsea, one more Club America. But everything in the middle was just everyone. And that was the empty part. But yeah, behind the goal was good. The atmosphere also from there after the goal and stuff seemed good. So, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, mate. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And also, Nizi, we've had a little disagreement in this chat, but I appreciate you always coming back, mate. Saying Alonso did more than Chilwell. Again, This is why Alonso is still here, because your standards are he was better than a guy that played his first game of football in 8 months.
After an ACL, nonetheless, one of the worst injuries to come back from.
Exactly. Congratulations, Alonso. You were better than someone that did his ACL.
And they were only barely better, by the way. Only barely better.
He gave the ball away more than Chilwell did. I mean, he didn't. Chilwell never tried anything useful going forward, let's be honest. But at least
Chilwell was still faster than him in his first game back after an ACL. That says a lot.
I'm happy to see that, actually. He didn't look to have lost a lot of pace, at least on that little bit that we saw.
See, I wasn't particularly paying attention, but a few people were saying he looked really slow, and then I was just like, well, it's his first game back. Like, let's see after a few games.
I think he looked slow in terms of changing direction, but when he got running, I think it was reasonably quick. Like normally looking quick, not any slower than before.
Got to keep an eye on that. Hopefully, hopefully it is just rustiness.
Yeah, I would hope so. And someone said, "How does where was it? How can anyone rate Gallagher after watching Ampadu play?" Now, did you not understand that they play different positions? Because are you expecting the central midfielder to play the same pass as the central centre back? Because central midfielder number 1 has players on them that stop them from waiting for the runs to play those passes, and number 2, there's not that much space between them and the attackers to play those passes. And did you see Gallagher's pass to Havertz? I don't know what you're talking about. You're just
The simple answer is one's more attacking and the other's more defensive. How do you compare the two? That's like comparing Thiago Silva and Jorginho. They're different types of players. Stop doing it.
There you go. Now, Nizi, I will give you that in terms of that. Maybe I was a bit harsh to Callum in terms of that he was coming back from injury. And while he was doing that, he didn't come back from an injury like an ACL. He came back from difficulties, for sure. Nerve-ending problems is no fun. And when he says if he couldn't even pass a ball for 10 yards, that's a serious problem, 100%. But Callum has been back in training for a long time. Like, he's been training a lot. Like, it's still different to come back from an ACL than to come back from a Callum. Like, he looks fully in his body fit, right? Chile didn't. So you can see that difference. But maybe I will hold my hands up and say on that basis, maybe I was a bit harsh on Joe. I'll let you know what, Nisha, I'm not that kind of guy. If you make a fair point, I'm going to say you make a fair point. Not on Alonso, you didn't make a fair point there. But on Cho, maybe you made a fair point. Can we make Kante mentor Ampadu? Well, no. I want Ampadu to still be able to pass well. No, I'm joking. Ampadu was class. Yeah, no, he really was very good. And if anything, maybe Kante would help him because...
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
No, but you know what I really like about Ampadu? I really like he's a very aggressive player in terms of the way he defends, whether that's as a central midfielder or as a DM or as a centre-back. A bit like Rudiger was in some occasions, but he's just on them. Like whether that's for headers or trying to poke the ball in front of them, on them. And then when he got the ball, he was trying to go forward, like obviously Pies touched on earlier already. So like very, very happy. Very, very happy. Can't really complain too much. It was the first game of preseason. Again, my biggest disappointment was that neither half had a different formation. That was disappointing to me. And all the patterns of play were identical. Everything was just identical. We didn't do a single new thing. Again, I said this at the very beginning already. Maybe that changes against Charlotte. Maybe that changes against Arsenal. Maybe that changes even against Udinese, who we play in Italy as the last preseason game, at least so far.
What a weird game, by the way.
It is a bit, yeah. It's a bit strange. But hey, there you go. To be fair, like under Lampard, we played like a random preseason game in Austria against Salzburg. We arrived on the day, played the game, flew back home the same day. It's probably what we're going to be doing that day as well, I assume. But yeah, the disappointing thing for me was just that we didn't do any new things. That was it, really. Like I said, not even just the formation, just to play different patterns. But we played the same patterns. Very immobile forwards. Well, how about stride? But even then it was forward, backwards, not left, dry, simple movement. And just, it was centre-back, 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 wing-back, centre-back, centre-back, wing-back, centre-back, DM, centre-back, wing-back. Do you know what I mean?
Apart from when Lampard did play, and he was playing into midfield, I thought we attacked a lot better when he did that.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. 100% agree.
I hate pre-season though, because like it's always like hopefully like the next few games, or I don't know about Charlotte, but Arsenal and Udinese will probably see by then probably our full maybe starting 11 or close to it. But when it's like two teams a half, it's like I hate it. It's so annoying.
We'll have half our players signed by then. As I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have them signed.
So I
but
don't.
will they be
Yeah,
ready to play?
yeah. I don't know. That's another thing. Is a good point because I don't know how fit. Like, Sterling arrived on Tuesday and he couldn't even come off the bench on Saturday, or Sunday morning. That's a bit mad to me, but
He'll
that's
be
why.
all right. He'll play.
Yeah. No, he
Well,
will
yeah,
now. But
Sterling will
like
play
I'm
next
saying, if we buy, I don't know, say we buy a centre back on Wednesday and they arrive Thursday, they ain't playing on the weekend against
But
Arsenal.
they also arrived in the West Coast, and now they're on the East
Yeah,
Coast. So.
jet lag will have played a role, but also the fact that Sterling didn't go to preseason to City, right? So he came directly from holiday, and there's a reason why
Aren't
you
they
don't
all
play
doing
your
that
first.
though? Koulibaly's done that. Koulibaly hasn't had a pre-season yet.
No,
that means he's probably not going to play.
Kounde won't if we sign him. They
I
start
think
on
Koulibaly
Wednesday.
might play because he's had more days, right? Because he arrived on.
Yeah, I don't know. I always think Tuchel's really careful as well when it's not like he's lover Kante in terms of. I feel like when it's Kante, he throws him in, and when it's a new sign, he's like, "Well, let's be really careful." And it's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I just want to see him."
Yeah.
Did I just hear the phrase "the lover Kante"?
Yeah, like bro, it's true though. Like if Kante's like on one leg,
adopted
Tuchel will
son.
play him. It's mad. It's like why wouldn't you protect Kante more than anyone with his injuries?
Yeah.
But no.
It is weird. Interestingly, actually, just people that might not be aware. So the reason why Kante and Ruben Loftus-Cheek didn't travel is because they're not vaccinated. Now, we're not going to talk about that too much. In particular, from Ruben's case, hey, if you don't want to get vaccinated, I think it's stupid, but you do you. But in my opinion, any chance he had of still having a Chelsea career, he killed by doing that. But hey, you need to suffer your own consequences. It's sad for me as a Ruben fan, but mostly it's his own consequence, I guess. But they played in an under-23s game, both of them. Now, Ruben was apparently good, but gave a penalty away. Now, how did the game finish in the end, Price?
So we won 4-2, I think. And yeah, Ruben gave a penalty away. They went 1-0 up. Then I think we ended up, we was 4-1 up in the end. And then I think they scored late on. Goal scorers were youth players, 17-year-old Castle Dine. There was a trialist. There was a 17-year-old centre mid who came from Spurs, got released, and he scored twice. And then someone else scored. Can't remember.
Fair play.
Yeah.
And HM, I'm not releasing anything private information. Chelsea released that. When Chelsea released the squad that travelled to pre-season, they said Loftus-Cheek and Kante are not travelling due to their vaccination status. So the world is publicly aware.
And after
I didn't just spill the tea here.
And if you couldn't deduce what it was after that, that's your problem, not anybody else's.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was very clear. But as we talked about earlier with Gilmore and Harvey Bale, who are now joining up with the under-23s, they are now also in the US, which means Kante and Ruben can't even be with the under-23s anymore. So that's not ideal.
Do you think Ruben will leave?
Sorry?
Do you think Ruben will stay or leave?
I think Ruben will stay.
Because we was talking about right wing back earlier. Like, I think last season when he played there, he was much better than when he played in the pivot. So,
if you want me to be honest with you, I think Ampadu takes what Ruben's spot was this year.
No. I'm not saying Ruben stays because Tuchel thinks he's that great or because Ruben. Like, I just think not that many offers will come in, and Ruben just wants to be here. Ruben just wants to be at Chelsea, so I think he might even get an offer and just say no. That's why I think he'll stay. Not because I think he's been that amazing or whatever.
I mean, why wouldn't you? I think he's on 150k or something.
Yeah, and that's partly why he won't accept offers because no one will pay him that. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not yet convinced that we are. I mean, Nizar Kinsella literally tweeted 10-20 minutes ago the fact that where is it? It's done now. But apparently, Marseille have upped their bid for Jonathan Klaus, the right wing back from FC Lens, or Lens, but you people probably don't speak French, to 11 million euros, which might get accepted. So then that's our apparent number one right wing back target out the way as well, if that is accepted and Klaus accepts it as well. So that's unfortunate. And maybe Ruben just ends up staying as the right wing back. Who knows? But yeah, I think he will stay, but I think he will get less minutes than he got last season. And partly because he didn't come on pre-season, if I'm honest. Because if he was on pre-season, we wouldn't have seen Barkley play. We would have seen Gallagher and Ruben in midfield, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe Pulisic would have had to play right wing back and Mount would have played the front.
I quite liked it at times last season, though. Like, when like Tuchel plays, like, say, Hudson-Odoi or a Pulisic a wing back, they play as wing backs. But when James and Ruben were playing, they were kind of playing more like inverted, and that was pretty good because he was kind of
Yeah, I
joining
mean,
the
those
midfield
two
as well.
games, Southampton, Real Madrid, no one can say that Ruben wasn't great as a right wing back in
Yeah.
those two games. Like, anyone that says that is just lying to themselves. He
Oh, he
got
was
two
unreal
games in
against
that
Real
position and
Madrid.
he was great both times.
Real Madrid, he was bloody amazing.
Mate, while he wasn't a pitch, he was the best player, and we got shit the second he took him off.
Yeah. Oh man, that game, fuck's sake.
That's just opening another can of worms.
Why?
Because people hate that game.
Yeah,
You're just gonna get everybody in here all riled up again.
It's a bit like that game against Barcelona where Essien scored that scream, and it's one of the greatest goals Stamford Bridge has ever seen. But because of how the game ended up, none of us want to think about it. And it's a bit like until the 80th minute, whenever Benzema scored the first goal. Until then, that was probably one of the best games our football club has ever played. Away at the Bernabeu, 3-0 up after losing by 2 goals at home and literally turning it around.
It's one of the biggest what ifs as well, because after that we had City over 2 legs and then Liverpool eventually, and with English sides you just never know. So it's painful.
I mean, judging by the fact that we lost 2 finals to Liverpool, yeah,
both on penalties as well. I swear, if we lose another final penalties next season, that is it for me. I can't do that anymore.
If we lose another one from the next one, just score an own goal before we get there. Like,
can we just get smashed if we're going to lose a final? Like, I can't do penalties.
Yeah.
It's fucking
no,
painful.
if you need to, 121st minute, score an own goal.
Legit, I can't go through that again.
Just put Bettinelli in goal; it will happen automatically. But yeah, I think we've covered everything. Now, hopefully, we'll get this Kounde stuff done as soon now as we did the Koulibaly stuff. Now, question to both of you to finish it off. Between Kounde and Kimpembe, do you have a drastic preference? I know, Pies, you're probably going to say Kounde because obviously you've wanted Kounde all along. But or has Kimpembe changed that a little bit?
I think Kimpembe's probably better right now, but again, it's kind of like the whole, like, I know it's obviously a drastic age difference, but like kind of like the De Ligt and Koulibaly, where Kimpembe's that more experienced defender. You know, he's played a lot in the Champions League for PSG, big games. Whereas Kounde's kind of the younger guy, still a bit experienced, but you know, he's one for the future almost. Even though he would start, it's kind of like that sort of comparison. But it's hard to say I have a preference because they're in different spots for me. Like, they're on different sides. So yeah, it's really hard. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't quite believe we're still going to sign 2 more centre backs, but we'll see.
Yeah. It will be baffling, to be honestly. I mean, he's 3 years younger than Kimpembe. Kimpembe turns 27 soon, and Kounde turns 24 later in the year. I think for now, I'm almost what I'm struggling with is I think I might slightly prefer Kounde, but the benefit I'd have, I've said this all year long, and the one negative I've always said about Rudiger, before he was good, after he was good, whenever we played in a back three, I always said I would personally prefer a left-footed, left-sided centre-back because I think it makes build-up easier. Because I think if the left side centre-back has the build-up to the wing-back more natural, I mean, Sarr has it, sure, but I always felt, because we always built more over the right-hand side. Even when we have Chile and Reece James available and the full back line and the full front line, we always use the right side more than the left. Maybe it's because Reece is a bit better in that sense than Chile, but I always felt that way. That's why while Reece was fit, Chile scored more goals. And only when Chile got injured, that's when Reece started scoring more goals, except the Newcastle game, of course. And I always hope that with a good left-sided, left-footed, left centre-back, we could share that and split that out a bit, which makes us more difficult to predict because the opponents will be well aware of that we use the right side more. So they make sure they cover our right side of players better, right? Because we don't use the left side anyway. And when we do, we have Alonso who's so slow that they don't need to cover him. They can just run after him once the pass is played. But, you know, that's what the big thing Kimpembe has over Kounde for me. But the problem is I don't know how seamlessly Koulibaly could change from left side to right side. Now, I would assume he can, but I don't know how well he can. And I don't know if Tuchel or anyone knows how well he can, because pretty much his entire career he's played left-sided centre-back in a back four with a few occasions left-sided centre-back in a back three. So he's basically never played us on the right. So until we've done it maybe a couple of times in games and a few more times in training, even managers probably don't know, right? So that's the one thing I'd have for Kimpembe. For Kounde, because then we can just leave. He plays right center back for Senegal. To be fair, does he, AMZ?
See, I was just looking at that because I'm pretty sure he does. I'm just looking at the 2 times they played Egypt. So yeah, he does, but they play a 4 at the back. But he does play on the right, yeah.
Okay, but it's in a okay right center
in a
back
4.
over 4. Yeah.
Lineups. Yeah. Well, he kind of switches. I'm just looking at some of the games. So in AFCON final, he played on the left. Oh no, in the World Cup qualifiers, he played on the left, and in the AFCON, he played on the right. So, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
but it is also partly because the guy next to him for Senegal is Abdou Diallo, and he's left-footed. So obviously he will play on the right then.
Yeah.
If he only has a left-footed player next to him. But that is still good news, though, that he at least plays the right side of the 4 for Senegal. Now, I still don't know for sure how good he is as the right of a 3. I assume he'll be just fine. I saw one clip just earlier of him stealing the ball off Mbappe, and that was on the right, not of a 3, but it was still defending on the right against almost kind of winger, right? So,
well, you got to get past Reece James and then you just run into Koulibaly. Like that could be something ridiculous.
Exactly. But yeah, in the end, I don't really care that much between Kimpembe and Kounde, if I'm being perfectly honest with you.
I think the one thing Kimpembe has is obviously Tuchel. Like he was very, very, very good when Tuchel managed him. So that's the one thing I guess you could say.
How do we define that though?
Well, it's his best seasons he had at PSG were under Tuchel, so like not even a debate.
Yeah, no, but what I'm thinking with that is obviously he's now 26, right? So when Tuchel had him, he was 24. So that was when he was just coming into being at a right age of being properly good, right, as a centre back. So before that, he was maybe too young, and after that, he had Pochettino, who's shit. So.
Well, Pochettino is supposedly the guy that improves players tenfold. So, I mean,
only Tottenham players though, because I didn't see him improve any PSG players. I swear they all got worse, except Mbappe maybe. But I swear he just got better on his own. But anyway, let's see. Maybe we lose out to Barcelona and Kounde anyway, and then we need to get Kimpembe. So who knows? But also we need to make sure, because now that De Ligt's gone and we signed Koulibaly, maybe Juve will try for Kimpembe. So we can't be too slow on that either. But yeah, like someone said, marathon stream. It honestly was, just because there's so much happened in the last week that there was so much to discuss that it took us a while. But we're going to wrap it up now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're still here, there's 250 of you, so I appreciate you very much. Please be sure to subscribe on your way out. If you're new here, just get subscribed. Like, if it turns out you don't enjoy our streams, even though you enjoyed it today, but you won't enjoy it in the future, you can just unsubscribe. But for now, subscribe to make sure you don't forget it. Get subscribed, smash the like button on your way out as well. And happy days. So get that done. Like James Doran said, smash the like button on your way out. Just click it. And if you don't have a Google account, now I'll let you off for today because I'll only be here for another minute. But for next time, just get a Google account. It's 2022. Come on, get with the times. Like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, check out my wonderful guests. Of course, check out Ian's channel. Link is down in the description. Check out Pice's Twitter and website. The website is chelseafc365.com. And please do also follow Clutch on Twitter. No, I still need 2 hours of Laurenz. Another 2 hours, mate. Can't be doing that. But we will be back soon. I will. Now, I don't know if I'll do it directly after the game or if I'll do it in the afternoon, the day after the Charlotte game. Yet to think about it. But there will be content specifically for the Charlotte game. So I will see you sooner. There will not be a week.
It'll be very late for you, bro.
It will be. But if I'm up anyway, I'm up anyway.
Wait, is it half one kickoff for you, 12:30 for me? I mean, for Clutch, it'll be all right. But
yeah,
for us, it would be very late.
But you got to remember, because I'm doing night shift at the moment, it doesn't really bother me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very true. Yeah, well, maybe I can stomach it. We'll see.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe you can just pop in for first half.
If Laurenz can stomach it, why can't you, Pius?
True, but
because
I don't know.
Pius is the guy making revenue from it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't make money from this shit.
Exactly. So it's more than fair if you don't want to do a 3 a.m. stream. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to have a go at anyone for that. But yeah, please check out the guests, subscribe to our channel, smash the like button. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Let's hope for another dub against Charlotte, a bigger dub against Charlotte, especially, I mean, they have Christian Fuchs as their captain. They weren't even a professional football team a year ago. So let's make sure we beat them, please. Because, right, they were only entered into the MLS this year, weren't they, Clutch? Before that, they
yeah, they're pretty bad. It's so good. They're pretty bad.
So we've got to score at least 4 goals then, by what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, they're bad.
I'm more thinking 12, but
12.
Anything less than 2 will be actually just depressing.
Exactly. Hey,
You will need to find me
South
an
America. I
anti-
just forgot which goal we were going for once. It happens. It's preseason. The heat got to us, even though it was lovely cool in that stadium in Las Vegas. That's mental, by the way. Not only do Americans have AC in houses, they have it in fucking stadiums. Like I know in Qatar they do because obviously they
Wait,
have
so Clutch, because you're American, so is the Charlotte game going to be like day for them or night or what? Like what will we be seeing on the screen? Will it be night?
Oh, what time is it? My time?
I don't know.
Your time, I don't
hold
know,
on.
but it's
Hold on.
12:30, so
Half
past
12
midnight
UK.
time.
Yeah. I just
So
wondering.
six
Like,
You're
hours
making me.
before
You're
that,
making
right?
me
So
do
that means-
maths.
come on, bro. You're American. You should know.
7:30.
You should know
7:30.
You should know every single state, every single time zone. Come on.
Well, it's in my time zone, so I don't know what time the game is. I haven't looked at it yet. I only look at that like the day before.
Yeah, it should be 7:30.
Yeah, it's 7:30 my time.
I want a
So,
day game, man. I like
it'll
watching
be day.
games.
It'll be
during the
daytime.
day.
It'll be daytime for like an hour
okay.
probably.
All right.
Yeah, maybe the end will be in the darkness and the start will be daylight.
But it doesn't matter, like because it's being played in another NFL stadium, the Carolina Panthers Stadium.
So
And what
this
about
is
the
another
Arsenal
Root
game?
Stadium.
Is the
So
Arsenal
no, it's not
stadium
a
good?
road one. It's an open air one. That
What
one's
about-
played in a soccer specific stadium, and I use that. Don't everybody hate me, but that's what they call it, soccer specific here.
You know what I found funny the other day? You know when Pulisic was doing that interview with ESPN, he kept calling it soccer, but every time he does it with Chelsea, he has to call it football.
He has to stay on both sides. He straight up tells you he does that.
See, I think Pulisic himself calls it football by now, but when he does interviews with American TV, he calls it soccer on purpose.
Yeah, he does.
That's
He
what I
does
would-
that.
I
all
think
very-
it's the other way around.
Nah,
I think he doesn't like saying
because
football.
he's around the English lot all the time. How often does he get the chance to even call it soccer anymore? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah.
But who knows? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Call it whatever you want, as long as you know it's really football. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you all. But yeah, up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.